Chapter 1146. The First. He's the first. Ming Rui held the child in her arms and ignored everyone's shocked gazes. She kept kissing him as tears flowed down her face. That year, when I discovered the blood bath body metamorphosis technique by chance, I tried to cultivate it, but 10 years passed in the blink of an eye, and I couldn't succeed. My flesh and blood rejected each other, and my soul devoured each other. That was just a remnant of the technique, and it was incomplete. I was too impatient. I wanted to become stronger too much. I wanted to break through the obstacles and establish my career. In the end, I used him. Everyone's hearts trembled in horror. The cultivation technique was incomplete and difficult to cultivate, but her child was connected by blood. The blood bath body metamorphosis technique might successfully devour the child. Sect Master, come out. The Grand Elder suddenly choked with sobs and tears flowed down his face. He sighed and urged with a worried expression. Can't you walk out? Give up this blood essence and body, and you can still live. She can. Jiang Tian shook his head and said indifferently, but I'm afraid she won't come out again. The Grand Elder looked at Jiang Tian in surprise. Ming Rui hugged the child tightly and pressed her cheek against his little face. She asked tearfully, Child, do you blame Mother? Why do you blame Mother? Mother has worked hard too. The child hugged Ming Rui tightly with a childish voice. However, he suddenly sobbed and tears rolled down his face. It's because you haven't hugged me for so long. When he was devoured, he was still very young. He probably didn't know what life and death were, and couldn't distinguish between reality and illusion. In his eyes, his mother was always the mother who doted on him the most. She was the mother who bought him candy, fed him milk, dressed him, and made his bed. He didn't remember the pain of being killed or devoured. He only remembered. When it was cold, there was a bowl of hot soup. When it was hot, there was a mat and a rattan pillow. When he was naughty, there was a slap on his butt. When lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, there was a warm palm covering his ears and holding him in an embrace. That embrace was safe and soft, and he missed it for hundreds of years. What was a mother? Perhaps it was the porridge and rice, the pecks and drinks, the warm embrace, the gentle criticism. Good child, Mother is here to accompany you. I will accompany you forever. An extremely complicated expression appeared on Ming Rui's face. In the end, it turned into endless sorrow. I gave up everything, cut off all emotions and desires, and cultivated demonic arts. I wanted to reach the divinity transformation stage, but in the end, I still failed. Ming Rui was filled with sorrow and sadness. Her tears fell like rain as she sobbed. Who will be the hero in the battle for the immortal path? Taichu path is nothing. At this moment, I finally can't stand the mental torture anymore. My Tao heart is gone. At this moment, I finally know that my tears are salty. At this moment, I finally understand that no matter how powerful I am, I'm still a human. Since I'm a human, I shouldn't pretend that I'm a god or an immortal, not a human. Ming Rui smiled, but tears rolled down her cheeks. However, when she looked at Jiang Tian, there was no resentment in her eyes, only gratitude. She looked at Jiang Tian gratefully. Jiang Tian had broken her Tao heart, but he had allowed her to see his true heart. Others might not be able to see it, but I can see it using a secret technique. Jiang Tian clasped his hands behind his back, shook his head, and sighed. Your child's soul lingers around you all the time. And your soul is also looking for him. It's just that you two are in different worlds and can't see each other. I only used the magic that controls the underworld to help you see your own heart. Ming Rui, am proud of my amazing talent and unparalleled achievements. However, only when I came did I realize that I have done nothing in my life. I have committed countless sins in my life. Ming Rui's face was blushing, and blood tears flowed from her eyes. She was filled with desolation and loneliness. She sighed with regret and said, I'm only using my own life to prove that this path is impassable. She used the last of her strength to shout loudly, all disciples, listen to my orders. Destroy the scrolls of the blood body-changing divine technique and destroy all the flesh and blood altars. Release the flesh and blood, no, release those people. They are living people. They have fathers, mothers, children, and lovers. Give all the spirit chi recovery seeds to Kang Te-chu. From now on, the Changshan sect, Kang Te-chu, the majestic sect master, and 100,000 disciples, listen to the orders of fellow Taoist Tai Chu. Ming Rui's face was covered in tears. She used the last of her strength to shout at the sky. I understand. I finally understand. Be it cultivators or mortals, they are all humans. Under the blue sky is the human world, and the matters of the human world can only be described with one word: too late. I've been busy all my life. 500 years of cultivation, 300 years of fighting and killing. In the end, I looked back and saw that I had not done what I should have done. The person I should have loved was already dead, and he was killed by me. Looking back, the road was empty. I looked forward to the road ahead, but there was no family or friends. In this world, there was only one thing: come. No. Time. She held the child in her left hand and extended her right hand into the void without light. Facing the darkness, her eyes were filled with endless longing and yearning. Family, family, I'm back. I want to reunite with you. I want to be forgiven. Blood rained down. Ming Rui's body cracked and exploded inch by inch. She was collapsing and dissipating, along with her body and mind. After Ming Rui's immortal will was destroyed, the dead people attached to her immortal will also exploded after a series of twisting, pulling and expanding. They turned into a rain of flesh and broken bones, filling the entire Changshan square. Ming Rui was dead. Her ambition, her loneliness and her regret had all turned into drops of blood and scattered with the wind. She had once carried a heavy burden and rose from a humble position. She started as a cook in the Changshan sect and became an elder and the sect master. She changed her mind and stabilized the Changshan sect. She had once traveled 10,000 miles with a sword and defeated many sects and territories in the North region with her own strength, pushing the Changshan sect to become the top sect in the North region. She had once competed with many sect masters of the large sects and rarely lost in her life. She had once discussed with the Golden Rock Temple's Tathagata. She was a weak woman, but she had become the sect master of the fifth sect in this world. Everyone was shocked when her name was mentioned. Now, her Taoist heart had been destroyed by Jiang Tian, but he could not destroy her thoughts and family. Ming Rui's immortal will also dissipated. Only when the spirit of her main body dissipated could her children and family be at peace. Only then could her heart atone for her sins. At this moment, the sky was red like blood. The sky was gradually darkening. The cold wind blew across the desolate 10,000-year mountain. It was so cold and silent. Everything had come to an end. Longevity, longevity. In this world, how many people can transcend these two words? Where is the boundary between human nature, beast nature, and divinity? Jiang Tian had one, but he was not as happy as he should be. The sect master of the Changshan sect, Ming Rui, had a lot of ups and downs in her life. Her experiences were extremely complicated. Her human nature was also extremely complicated. She could not be determined by the simple words good and evil. She modified evil techniques and confused believers. She used white bones as altars and the flesh of tens of thousands of people as nourishment. She did not recognize her family and shattered human relations just to increase her cultivation. She was extremely evil, worse than a beast, like a demon. However, she was not doing it for her own benefit. Instead, she wanted to break the cage of this world, ascend to the heavens, and open up a new world for this world. In this aspect, she was also filled with the radiance of divinity. Even if she was a demon god, she was also a part of divinity. Everyone was the only protagonist in their own life. They had their own pursuits and their own stories. The sect master of the Changshan sect, Ming Rui, was not weak. From the perspective of the Changshan sect, she was even a genius and a hero. However, because her path was different, her philosophy was different, and her standpoint was different. She stood on the opposite side of Jiang Tian and fought to the death. In the end, before she died, she opened her arms and walked into the darkness. She was sorrowful and lost. She longed for family and revealed the radiance of human nature. It was this that touched Jiang Tian deeply. What did she leave behind for the world behind her? 1 in a billion is not 0. There is still hope. I am only using my own life to prove it. I am using the lives of countless people of the same sect to prove that this path is blocked. Just as she had said, she had done everything she could to disown her family, killed countless people, and committed monstrous sins. In the end, she had only proved, this path was blocked. However, on the long journey of cultivation, how many people had abandoned everything for the sake of a faint hope? In the end, it was all for nothing. In this mortal world, how many people had fought, been hot-blooded, and held high? For the sake of their dreams, they had lived a life of desolation. In the end, they had left behind a sad and sorrowful song. There were thousands of paths in the world. However, sometimes, once one's vision was limited to a blind spot, one would go astray. One wrong step would lead to many wrong steps. One wrong step would lead to eternal regret, and it would be difficult to turn back. At this moment, the entire world was deathly silent. Everyone looked at the place where Ming Rui's body and soul had collapsed and disappeared. Their expressions were extremely complicated, and many emotions were revealed. Ming Rui wanted to reunite with her family, but this was obviously impossible. In fact, there was no afterlife. Everything was just her shattering her own soul and body to return herself and her many souls to nothingness. Everyone had mixed feelings in their hearts, and they felt love and hate at the same time. No one knew who was the first to let out a sigh. Following that, deep sighs could be heard one after another. Ming Rui could be considered to be an extraordinary figure. But in the end, it had come to such an end. It was sad, pitiful, lamentable, and respectable. However, no matter what, all of this had come to an end. The curtains to an era had descended, and a brand new era had begun. At this moment, everyone who'd understood this had withdrawn their gazes and looked respectfully at Jiang Tian, who was descending step by step from the sky above Eternal Square. Chapter 1147. Cultivator Taichu, did you just say that with the spirit chi and resources of this world, you have a chance to enter the soul formation stage in 100 years and break free from the cage of this world? After a long while, the Grand Elder looked at Jiang Tian cautiously and asked with a frown. Why not? Jiang Tian sneered and said, in my previous life, I once traveled the universe and saw the boundless world. In your previous life, everyone was shocked, but it wasn't unacceptable. To others, the idea of reincarnation was simply a fantasy. However, in this sect, 70 to 80% of the people who had mastered this technique had reincarnated once, or even several times. Jiang Tian pointed at the golden lake on his forehead with his right hand. Divine senses burst out and connected with everyone's own divine senses. Boom! A loud sound was heard. Images of the vast universe appeared in everyone's divine senses. Tens of thousands of people saw it at the same time. The depths of the universe were vast and deep with endless stars. The central galaxy was vast and prosperous, and there were many planes. Civilizations flourished and heroes rose together. There were space battleships that surpassed the speed of light, shuttling through stars and planes. There were celestial emperors who filled the sea with a grain of dust. There were divine princes who cut the sun and moon with a blade of grass. There were supreme grand cultivators who could turn the world upside down and collapse space with a flick of their fingers. Suddenly, they saw a demonic beast that could swallow the world. That demonic beast wandered in the cold and lonely universe. Its body was billions of feet long, even larger than a planet. It seemed to have no end. It was opening its incomparably huge mouth and swallowing suns one after another. Suddenly, the demonic beast felt a trace of danger and turned to look at everyone. Its demonic eyes were extremely frightening. However, everyone also saw that the demonic beast felt a trace of danger and was full of fear. It shrank its head and hunched down, and the scales all over its body stood up. Everyone gradually saw a figure appear in the demonic beast's eyes. That figure was billions of feet tall, stepping on the galaxy and carrying the stars on its back. It was Jiang Tian from his previous life. He traveled freely in the universe with a sword and killed demons. In the demonic beast's eyes, a sword aura that was brighter than the galaxy burst out from Jiang Tian's hand. It could easily shatter the stars. The demonic beast was beheaded and then exploded inch by inch with a sorrowful cry, turning into a meteorite of bones and ashes. So this universe is really so vast. The civilization is so prosperous, and immortal Master Jiang was so powerful in his previous life. As it turns out, we and ancient Earth are located in the most desolate places at the edge of the universe. When Jiang Tian retracted his divine sense, countless people were shaken to the core. They felt a deep sense of reverence towards Jiang Tian, as if they were lowly ants meeting a true god. The Changshan sect had powerful spiritual arts. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to tell that this wasn't an illusion, but a memory. The memories of Jiang Tian's previous life. In his previous life, Jiang Tian freely roamed the universe, traversing star fields and galaxies. He fought against immortal emperors and true gods, and he slew demon beasts as if he was cutting grass. Such a Jiang Tian was something they did not dare to imagine or compare to. They did not even have the courage to challenge him. As long as we can win over this person, we will definitely be able to break through the cage of this world and enter the central galaxy. Thinking of this, the Grand Elder's face trembled. He knelt down without hesitation and said loudly, "The Changshan sect is willing to accept perfected immortal Jiang as our sect master. From now on, 100,000 of our sect members will listen to your orders. We will do anything you ask of us. Taichu's sect master, I am willing to follow your orders. I will serve you loyally for the rest of my life. I will never betray you." Crown Prince Jihan was the second to kneel down. His face was paler than a corpse that had been dead for 3 days. His body was trembling. At first, he despised Jiang Tian and thought that Jiang Tian didn't deserve to be on the same level as him. After witnessing Tang Linglong's prowess, he treated Jiang Tian as his mortal enemy and provoked him time and time again. However, he never expected Jiang Tian to turn into a dragon as soon as he encountered a storm, ascending to the heavens and defeating the longevity sect leader. Thinking of how he had provoked Jiang Tian many times before, he was so scared that his heart almost exploded. His body was on the verge of collapsing. "Taichu's sect master, please show mercy." After that, the chief guard of the mountain gate, Long Zhe, and the other people who had offended Jiang Tian earlier also knelt down and kowtowed repeatedly. More and more people knelt down. But at this time, different voices were heard. "Grand Elder, Kang Taichu is a lowly person from Yanhuang after all, and an ant from Earth. How can we, the fifth orthodoxy of West Earth, lower our heads to him and respect him?" A hall master stood out, filled with righteous indignation, and roared in a loud voice, "If we join hands, we might be able to destroy him." Prejudice was hard to overcome. It was like an unshakable mountain. This hall master was a classic example of prejudice against the people of Yanhuang. No matter how strong Jiang Tian was, he still didn't agree. He wanted tens of thousands of people to attack together and kill Jiang Tian. "Shut up." Hearing this, the Supreme Elder was so frightened that his body trembled. His soul almost left his body, and his heart almost jumped out of his throat. "Are you brainless? Are you trying to kill yourself? Don't drag me down with you. Don't you see Kang Taichu's strength?" Even Ming Rui, who had absorbed the essence of tens of thousands of people, was killed by him. His strength could suppress all golden core cultivators and reach the nascent soul realm. Lowly person from Yanhuang. An ant from Earth? Try saying that again. Jiang Tian sneered and flicked his finger. Whoosh! A vermilion bird true flame of light broke through the void and burned the gold core hall master into ashes. Even his gold core was shattered. Anyone who doesn't agree, step forward. Jiang Tian scanned the crowd and said loudly. The whole place was dead silent. Everyone was as silent as cicadas in winter. They shivered and did not dare to breathe loudly. No one dared to utter a single provocative word. Anyone who doesn't agree, go through me first. Come, let me see who dares to jump out. Fairy Luo Mei was elated, and she leaped out and flew to Jiang Tian's side before threatening him in a loud voice. She didn't believe that Jiang Tian could defeat the sect master of the Changshan sect. He was just forced to do so. Now, she was glad that she didn't betray Jiang Tian. Otherwise, she wouldn't even know how she died. The Grand Elder also scanned the crowd and said seriously, we should follow the last wish of the former sect master, Ming Rui, and worship the sect master of the Taichu sect. Your words are still ringing in my ears. Could it be that you want to rebel? Under such circumstances, no one dared to disagree with him. Everyone was afraid that if they resisted, they would end up like this elder. They would be burned to the point where not even their bones remained, dying without a complete corpse. After all, they now understood that there was no such thing as happiness in the next life. If they died, their souls would be destroyed and they would return to nothingness. Greetings, perfected immortal Jiang. May you live as long as the heavens and live as long as the heavens. Instantly, the tens of thousands of people, including tens of thousands of disciples, dropped to their knees and kowtowed repeatedly, their faces filled with fear and reverence. He's become the sect master of the Changshan sect before he's 30. From now on, he's the sect master of the 5th orthodoxy in West Earth. He can talk to the Arhat and be on par with the sect masters. If this news spreads, it will definitely cause a huge uproar in West Earth. Countless people looked at Jiang Tian's tall and majestic back with admiration. They couldn't calm down. Although they couldn't, they yearned for it. Long Zhe, Extreme Han, you have offended the sect master of the Taichu sect. According to the sect rules, you should be punished. Let's destroy their souls. Suddenly, the Supreme Elder stood up and shouted in a dignified manner. Since it's our first offense, please forgive us this time. We won't do it again in the future. Please show mercy, sect master. Extreme Han, Long Zhe, and the others were so scared that their souls almost left their bodies. They knelt and trembled, almost crying out loud. Forget it. Jiang Tian shook his head softly. A small golden core like Extreme Han was like an ant. If Jiang Tian wanted to kill him, he could do so with a flick of his finger. How was it worth it for him to attack alone now? Long Zhe, you offended the sect master in front of the mountain gate. The sect master is merciful and didn't kill you, but you can't avoid punishment. Now, you'll be stripped of all your duties and you'll be an outer sect servant disciple. Do you understand? The Grand Elder shouted. I understand. I know my mistake. Thank you for not killing me, sect master of the Taichu sect. Long Zhe trembled with gratitude. Tang Linglong and the others were enlightened when they saw that. That was what it meant to be respected with strength. That was what it meant to have the strongest fist. Back then, Long Zhe was arrogant and didn't care about what he said. But now, he was kneeling in front of Jiang Tian and wagging his tail like a dog. Extreme Han. You jumped the highest during the battle just now. You kept speaking rudely. Now, I'll take away your golden core and see what happens next. The Grand Elder was very dignified. He reached out and grabbed, freezing Extreme Han's body. As Crown Prince Extreme Han screamed miserably, he grabbed his blood-stained golden core from his dantian. Thank you for not killing me, sect master of the Taichu sect. I'll remember this lesson. A bitter smile appeared on Crown Prince Extreme Han's face. He was in so much pain that he wanted to die, but he still kowtowed. His aura suddenly decreased and he became a Foundation Establishment cultivator instantly. His aura was extremely weak. Jiang Tian watched from the side. He knew that the Grand Elder was doing it on purpose for him to see. He was also representing the older generation of the Changshan sect. However, he let it be. After all, the Changshan sect was still useful to him. This was the fifth orthodoxy of West Earth after all. There were many golden core and foundation establishment cultivators. If the experts of the ruins of immortality invaded one day, this place would be an important fortress. In the next few years, the ruins of immortality and the multidimensional worlds will be the greatest threat. Jiang Tian sighed in his heart. The universe is boundless and the star ocean is vast. There are too many opponents hiding in the dark. I have to build a strong cultivation civilization. It's too difficult to fight alone. Everyone, please rise. Withdrawing his thoughts, Jiang Tian's expression was neither sad nor happy. He stretched out his hands and made a gesture in the air. He had the demeanor of a great sect's master. He's become the sect master of the Changshan sect. From now on, the entire north region is his. In the crowd, Mao Billion finally came to her senses. She couldn't believe it, as if she had seen a ghost. Her face turned pale and a strong sense of regret surged in her heart. Before this, she had offended Jiang Tian repeatedly because of racial prejudice. If she had a good relationship with him, she would have enjoyed endless benefits like her sister. He did it. He really did it. The tragic history of the sacred children and sacred girls, the tragic competition and the feast of blood, is over. There will be no more deaths. Mao Hongdai mumbled to herself with tears in her eyes. Her charming face was full of respect and admiration, like a little fangirl who had seen her idol. He really defeated Ming Rui and became the sect master of the Changshan sect. Fan Xiuzhu looked up and stared at Jiang Tian in disbelief. Li Wuji and the others also felt as if they were dreaming. Only Tang Linglong crossed her arms and straightened her back. She felt proud and smiled proudly. I've said it before, my master is omnipotent. The Changshan sect is nothing. Chapter 1148. Yi Karen and Lady Wu were deeply shocked. They mumbled, omnipotent? That's a bit exaggerated, but at least he can kill deities. In their eyes, the overlords of the other worlds were high and untouchable, just like deities. But now, Jiang Tian had killed Ming Rui, the sect master of the Changshan sect. A seed of confidence had been planted in their hearts, igniting the flames of war. Swoosh! Swoosh! Jiang Tian flew over and landed next to Mao Hongdai. He smiled and said, I told you that I would protect you, didn't I? Brother Tai Chu, you scared me. Mao Hongdai hugged Jiang Tian's arm and cried, venting the fear in her heart. Ha, I've reached the golden core level a long time ago. Besides, I have 4 divine bodies to share the burden, which is equivalent to 4 transcendent grade golden cores. Jiang Tian laughed and said. I only suppressed my cultivation to build a supreme divine grade golden core. If I don't want to suppress it, I can break free immediately and the entire West Earth will tremble under my feet. Hearing this, Mao Hongdai stopped crying and smiled. Isn't Jiang Taichu being too arrogant by saying this? Hearing those words, Fairy Luo Mei lightly shook her head and frowned. She admitted that Jiang Tian's strength was indeed earth-shattering when he unleashed his power. But Ming Rui, the sect master of the Changshan sect, was only ranked 5th on the overlord's list of West Earth. Some people even said that she was only ranked 10th. But in West Earth, apart from the Changshan sect, there were also the 4 major orthodoxies led by the Golden Rock Temple. The strength of these peerless great sects' leaders was unfathomable. Jiang Tian might not be able to compare with them. Besides, there were also some living fossils who had been hiding. If they came out, they would cause a huge commotion. In her opinion, Jiang Tian's words sounded a bit arrogant and conceited. Actually, when Jiang Tian said that, many people around lowered their heads to hide the suspicion in their eyes. All of this could not escape Jiang Tian's divine sense, but Jiang Tian was too lazy to explain. He glanced at the Supreme Elder and the others and said, All right, Supreme Elder, there are some things that we should discuss. Yes. Lord Sect Leader. The Grand Elder nodded repeatedly and hurriedly bowed. He was incomparably respectful as he followed Jiang Tian's footsteps. Soon, accompanied by the Supreme Elder, Jiang Tian and his companions went to check the treasure hall in the depths of the Changxing sect. Jiang Tian's habit had always been to loot as much as he could after defeating unorthodoxy. Otherwise, wouldn't all their efforts have been in vain, and they would return empty-handed after entering a treasure mountain? This temple of treasures was more than 10,000 feet tall, and the first floor was already 5 miles wide. It was ridiculously extravagant. It turned out that the entire mountain peak had been hollowed out and built. On the inner walls, there were numerous stone rooms densely packed together, giving off a majestic aura. At this moment, they stood in the astonishingly large temple of treasures. Everyone felt like they were a few ants in a mirror. The dark stone walls were shining with a metallic luster and emitting a heavy and gloomy aura. Streaks of light flowed endlessly like mercury. Countless wooden shelves of different sizes were placed in each of the huge stone rooms. There were scrolls, cultivation methods, medicine, spirit stones, dharma treasures, and divine weapons piled up like mountains. There were too many to count. Every one of them was extraordinary. If they were brought to the Earth world, the powerhouses would be so shocked that their eyes would pop out. A peerless sect, as expected of a peerless sect. The cultivation resources in this dimension are too abundant. Li Wuji was shocked. The Kunlun sect was the well-deserved #1 orthodoxy in Huaxia before the rise of the Tianqing school. It had a profound foundation and countless dharma treasures and resources. But at this moment, compared to the Changxin sect, Li Wuji felt that the Kunlun sect was just like a beggar on the street. The dimensional worlds were all fragments of the ancient earth. The present earth is the foundation of all the dimensional worlds. Jiang Tian smiled and said. Even though a lot of spirit qi was taken away when the ancient earth collapsed, more than half of the spirit qi on earth today is still present. If you and I restore the spirit qi on earth, the earth will become a cultivation sacred ground that surpasses Westland and even the ruins of deity. Yes, yes, yes. Li Wuji nodded and said that he was willing to be Jiang Tian's subordinate. Jiang Tian chuckled. He didn't care whether he was sincere or not. In his opinion, it was fine as long as Li Wuji could be persuaded. If he still insisted on doing things his own way, he would just kill him. At this time, the Grand Elder had already flown tens of thousands of meters to the top of the temple. He waved his hand and his essence qi turned into a palm. He took a stone box and landed in front of Jiang Tian. Master of the Taichu sect, all the spirit qi seeds of our sect are in this box. The Grand Elder respectfully presented it with both hands. Jiang Tian snapped his fingers and the lid of the stone box jumped up. A total of 4 spirit qi recovery seeds appeared in Jiang Tian's eyes. These spiritual energy recovery seeds were all the size of a fist. They were neither stone nor wood and looked ordinary. However, there was extremely rich spiritual energy rotating inside them. They were like clouds, filled with mist. They're even more powerful than the spirit qi recovery seeds in heavenly state. They're amazing seeds. Jiang Tian scanned them with his immortal will and immediately became excited. What rich spirit qi! At the side, Li Wuji took a deep breath with an intoxicated look on his face. His eyes were filled with envy, and he really wanted to go up and touch her like a fly rubbing its hands. He even had a feeling. Any one of the seeds could surpass the total amount of spirit qi in the Kunlun sect's dimension world. They could create another top sect on Earth. In fact, this was not an illusion. These world-shocking seeds were indeed extraordinary. The spirit qi seed that Jiang Tian obtained in Star World was only the size of a date pit. The 3 seeds in heavenly state were only the size of chicken eggs. Not only were they smaller, but their spirit qi was also not as condensed and pure as these amazing seeds. It could be said that any one of these 4 amazing seeds would surpass the total amount of spirit qi in the 4 seeds that Jiang Tian had obtained before. The spirit qi contained in them was as vast as the sea and as heavy as the mountains. If any one of them was taken out and absorbed slowly, at least 3 golden core cultivators would be born. Good. With these 4 world-shaking seeds, in addition to the previous 3, we can basically trigger the Star Destroyer, fill the empty physiques of Qing'er and my baby daughter, and realize the recovery of the spiritual energy of the entire Earth. Jiang Tian's face showed a touch of relief. He was so excited that his hands were trembling. His hanging heart finally calmed down. However, once the spirit qi on Earth is recovered, Earth will become a delicious cake in the eyes of the cultivators in the ruins of immortality and many other dimensions worlds. Jiang Tian put the 4 seeds into the sky-swallowing gourd, but a trace of seriousness gradually appeared on his face. The ruins of immortality is very far away from Earth. Without a soul formation cultivator, one can't control space and cross it in an instant. Even if a nascent soul cultivator uses the nascent soul leaving body technique to descend, it will still take several years. But what if they have secret space techniques to force their way through, or there are remnants of ancient transmission arrays on Earth? In this way, the time they take to arrive on Earth will be greatly reduced. I have 4 divine bodies now, which are equal to 4 golden core cultivators of the supreme grade or the sacred grade. It won't be a problem for me to deal with nascent soul cultivators. However, if I run into a nascent soul cultivator, it will be quite difficult and even dangerous. God knows if there are nascent soul cultivators or soul formation cultivators in the ruins of immortality. The only thing I can do now is to form as many divine bodies as possible and form a divine grade golden core. Jiang Tian's face showed a trace of determination as he thought about it. By then, I won't be afraid even if I run into a real nascent soul cultivator. Also, with the experience I've accumulated in my previous life, I can at least have a chance to survive if I run into a soul formation cultivator. Even in the central galaxy, where the cultivation civilization flourished, the cultivation sects had always divided the golden core into 3 levels and 9 grades. But above that, there were even more powerful and rare golden cores, the supreme grade, the sacred grade, and the deity grade. A supreme grade golden core was already very rare. A sacred grade and deity grade golden core was even rarer. Once it appeared, it would shock the world. Even a sacred grade golden core could only be refined by the heirs of the supreme sects, the saints of the immortal sacred grounds, or the elites with special bloodlines. They could only be refined with the help of miraculous materials and great luck. Once a deity-grade golden core was formed, it would be extremely powerful. A deity-grade golden core could kill a nascent soul cultivator. And a divine-grade golden core. In the universe, among the many sects and inheritances in the billions of planets, it had only been a legend for billions of years. It was said that there might not even be a single golden core in the universe. If Jiang Tian hadn't gone beyond the deity realm and reached the divine realm in his previous life and was only 1 step away from the capital of Hongmeng, he wouldn't even have dared to think about a divine-grade golden core. As long as I can form a divine-grade golden core, even if I'm still on Earth, I'll be able to defeat the divine princes, deity fetuses, saintesses, and fairies in the most advanced civilizations in the universe. I'll be able to overlook the human world, billions of planets and the endless universe. Jiang Tian had 4 divine bodies at the moment, but he had already started to plan for a more distant future. Now, among the 5 elemental constitutions, only the Earth divine body hasn't been formed yet. I hope the Changshan sect won't let me down. Jiang Tian heaved a sigh and his heart was filled with anticipation. Boundless divine sense surged out from the bottom to the top, quickly sweeping through the huge temple floor by floor. Chapter 1149. 5-colored muddy soil. This soil is very good, but it's mostly used for refining weapons, building arrays, and refining divine bodies, fire-resistant soil. This soil can absorb spirit energy and block fire, but its toughness and attack power are far from enough. Green phosphorescent soil. I didn't expect there to be such a thing in West Earth. This is a kind of phosphorescent soil made from the bones of ancient demonic beasts. It's extremely dark and can be used to corrupt thunder-type treasures. It can be used by ghost cultivators or fiendish cultivators. 1 Buddha dispersing soil can be refined into a Buddha pill. After taking it, one's mind will be peaceful, and one's heart will be like a dry well. It can suppress one's inner demons and is also very extraordinary. However, it can't be used to refine divine bodies. It's not tough enough. Mountain drilling drill. Interesting, this kind of earth-type treasure has vast and powerful dermic powers. It can drill into the ground and even penetrate tens of thousands of meters. This is very useful to me. I can use it to find Star Destroyer, but it can't be used to refine earth-type divine bodies. Jiang Tian's divine senses were extremely dense and vast, and he scanned very quickly. In less than 10 minutes, he had scanned through thousands of chambers and countless magical equipment. It could be said that the Changshan sect's treasures were terrifying. The Changshan sect was originally a 1,000-year-old orthodoxy. 500 years ago, Ming Rui revived the Changshan sect and swept through the northern territory, plundering as much as possible. The treasures they obtained were probably more valuable than the stellar sky domain, heavenly state, and earth domain combined. There were also a lot of earth-type materials, which could be used to refine weapons, refine pills, or even make weapons. However, there was nothing that could be used to refine body constitutions, especially divine bodies. As his vast divine senses scanned higher and higher, Jiang Tian's face became more and more ugly, and his heart became heavier and heavier. Could it be that he was so unlucky that he couldn't find the materials to refine earth-type divine bodies after working so hard to conquer the Changshan sect? If it weren't for the threat of the ruins of immortality, Jiang Tian wouldn't mind cultivating slowly. However, the ruins of immortality were like tigers watching their prey, and Jiang Tian couldn't be carefree and leisurely. Swish! When his divine senses scanned the dome of the treasure palace, Jiang Tian was completely depressed. Fuck you, you don't even have a suitable earth-type material. The longevity sect is too poor. Jiang Tian's face was ashen, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Taichu's sect master, there's no need to rush. Seeing Jiang Tian's gloomy face, the Supreme Elder was so scared that he knelt on the ground and said with a trembling voice, "We can inform the 4 countries of the northern border and the cities to offer up all of their earth-type magical equipment." Whitebeard, send someone to do it immediately. But you have to negotiate and buy or exchange, don't kill. Jiang Tian nodded, his face gloomy. Jiang Tian had previously asked for the Grand Elder's name, but the names in West Earth were too long, and they were in Sanskrit. Jiang Tian directly gave him the name Whitebeard, which suited his characteristics. The white-bearded Grand Elder immediately gave the order. A hall master walked out and announced the order. The Deathless Hierarch's order had the power to topple mountains and overturn seas. Most likely, the entire northern realm, the 4 great nations, the numerous cities, and the boundless lands would be turned upside down. Not a single one of them would be left unturned. Sect Master, why don't I go to the sects in the other 3 realms? Maybe I'll find some clues. Fairy Luo Mei also suggested. The world of West Earth was vast and had many factions. There were countless sects and clans. Many of the sects had a long history and many secrets. Even in the northern border, which was controlled by the longevity sect, no one dared to say that they had found everything, not to mention the other 3 realms. You can give it a try. Jiang Tian shook his head softly. There was worry in his eyes as he remained silent. He had already thought about it. There were only a few materials that could be used to refine an earth-type divine body, such as galaxy crystal sand, underworld jade soil, chaotic Taoist stones and deity bone fossils. However, Jiang Tian had described these materials and asked them to search for them. Even if he took out ready-made materials and placed them in front of everyone, they might not be able to recognize them, let alone recognize them. Jiang Tian's face was full of disappointment as he sighed. He was about to leave the temple when his divine consciousness suddenly moved. He said in surprise, "There's a basement in this temple. That basement is filled with materials that can't be used or have unknown origins and uses." The white-bearded Grand Elder smiled bitterly. What he meant was that those things had been discarded after many tests. There was no need to look at them anymore. "No. Open it." Let me see. Jiang Tian insisted. Yes. The Grand Elder did not dare to delay. He quickly inserted the array pestle, twisted it left and right, and formed a hand seal. He chanted a loud incantation to open the array foundation. Suddenly, the array patterns on the ground and the inner walls of the temple emitted thousands of rays of light. On the ground, the bricks seemed to be alive. They automatically folded, shrank and piled up, revealing a 10-meter wide hole with stairs leading to the underground. The ceiling and the walls on both sides of the passage were embedded with night pearls the size of chicken eggs, emitting a gentle light. This doesn't seem to be a simple basement. It seems that people often go in. Tang Linglong followed Jiang Tian down and muttered to herself in surprise. Reporting to fellow cultivator Linglong, the array foundation of this temple is under the basement. It also needs maintenance and repair on a daily basis. The Grand Elder smiled apologetically and bowed slightly, saying respectfully. He was at the peak of the Golden Core realm, while Tang Linglong was only at the mid-stage of the Foundation Establishment realm. In the sect, she could not even be a hall master and could only be regarded as an elite disciple. But it was different now. Tang Linglong was Jiang Tian's disciple, which was equivalent to the sect master's personal disciple. She had more power than an elder. How could he dare to offend her? Wow, even the Grand Elder of the Changshan sect bowed to me. I heard that he is Ming Rui's martial uncle. Tang Linglong shook her head and swayed her head. She was very pleased with herself. No wonder Master liked to conquer the dimensional worlds. It turned out that it was so satisfying to trample the so-called immortals under his feet. After dozens of meters, they arrived at the basement, but found nothing strange. There was only yellow sand on the ground. The yellow sand was unusually crystalline and fine. There was not a single stone in the yellow sand, not even a fingernail-sized stone. Strange. Tang Linglong stepped on the yellow sand with a surprised look on her face. She asked, "Why are there no footprints? These sand are very heavy. Even a Foundation Establishment realm expert can't pick up a single grain." The Grand Elder smiled bitterly. Tang Linglong snorted coldly. She unleashed her primordial chi and stomped down. When she came to West Earth, her cultivation had also risen. Although she couldn't crush mountains or break the earth like Jiang Tian could, at the very least, it wouldn't be a problem for her to shatter rocks and collapse houses. However, at this moment, when she stomped down heavily, the sand did not move at all. It was silent. Strange. But I don't believe in you. Tang Linglong frowned and unleashed her blazing bone sword. Whoosh! Whoosh! These bone swords came from the ancestor of the Holy Light clan, Blazing Bone. They were carefully refined by Jiang Tian and contained the power of the Holy Light fire. There was nothing they could not burn. Before this, when Tang Linglong had just obtained them, she had used them to split 3 tanks. One could imagine how sharp they were. However, at this moment, the blazing bone sword had a grain of sand burned and was sent flying backward. Damn! That's too strange. Tang Linglong was shocked. She hurriedly activated her consciousness and put the blazing bone sword back into the sword case. Cold sweat was already dripping down. On the other hand, Jiang Tian's face was filled with ecstasy. He muttered, "Galaxy crystal sand, this is galaxy crystal sand. I didn't expect that there's actually a stretch of galaxy crystal sand here, and the quantity is so much." Galaxy crystal sand, what is that? Everyone had a strange expression. It's so heavy. Li Wuji bent down and tried to grab a handful of yellow sand, but he couldn't put his fingers in it, let alone lift it up. Each grain of yellow sand was surprisingly heavy. The weight of a handful of yellow sand was comparable to that of a 1,000 feet tall mountain. Jiang Tian squatted down and grabbed a handful of yellow sand. His essence chi burst out and he activated his divine body. His body seemed to be made of iron. Only then did he lift a handful of yellow sand. This is not ordinary yellow sand. It's a heavenly material. No, it's even a divine material. It's extremely powerful. Jiang Tian's eyes were filled with ecstasy as he let go of the sand. The yellow sand flowed down one by one and smashed into the sand river, immediately producing a thunderous rumbling sound. A Dharma artifact? Otherwise, why is it so heavy? Everyone was surprised. The white-bearded man sighed regretfully. Ming Rui and the previous sect masters used to say that this is a very magical and powerful material. Unfortunately, no one could activate it. Over time, everyone gave up and thought that this yellow sand might just be a foreign object. You can't control it, right? Jiang Tian left a grain of sand in his hand and chuckled. He activated the spirit art of creation and injected a vast amount of Dharma power into it. Instantly, the speck of yellow sand flew into the air, growing larger and larger as it whizzed through the air. In the blink of an eye, it had grown to the size of about 10 acres. As it spun through the air, it caused friction with the air, causing a deafening sound to ring out. The yellow sand was still expanding. Clang! It penetrated a corner of the basement and made the roof change shape. The ground bulged and shook violently as if the entire temple was about to collapse. As Jiang Tian used up the spirit art of creation, the giant rock turned into yellow sand and fell down. Everyone was dumbfounded. Their hearts were shaken as they looked at the yellow sand. There were countless grains of yellow sand. There were probably hundreds of millions of them. If every single one of them was as big as the previous one, how terrifying would their weight and destructive power be? Galaxy crystal sand. It's beyond the category of heavenly material. It's close to a divine material, or at least a quasi-divine material. Looking at the endless yellow sand around him, Jiang Tian's face was filled with ecstasy as he explained. When the deity emperors create a big world, they can use a grain of sand as the foundation and use monstrous Dharma power to create a planet or a continent. This pile of yellow sand can form a galaxy or a star region. As soon as he said that, everyone was stunned and almost fell to the ground. Chapter 1150. Everyone felt like they were listening to a heavenly book when they heard that. He was able to use his monstrous chi to create billions of stars, construct a galaxy, and open up his own world. Was he still human? He was a real deity. Sect Master of the Taichu sect, can the yellow sand be used as materials for your supreme earth-type divine body? Supreme Elder Whitebeard asked expectantly. He was terrified and worried at the moment. Jiang Tian was resolute, vicious and merciless. If they couldn't find suitable materials and got angry, who knew how many people would be buried with him? Of course. This crystal sand can even create a galaxy, so why can't it create a divine body? Tang Linglong's face was filled with joy, feeling happy for Jiang Tian. It can. Jiang Tian squinted his eyes and scanned the surroundings with his soul consciousness. He smiled and said, but the galaxy crystal sand doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's born from the chaotic source rock. If we can find the chaotic source rock, we can create the ultimate earth-type divine body. What? There's an even stronger material. Everyone was shocked to the extreme. Get out. This place isn't safe anymore. Jiang Tian's expression became even more serious. Yes, Sect Master. No one dared to be negligent and retreated one after another. When Jiang Tian released his divine will to search around, immediately, a vast earth-type energy flowed out of the yellow sand and pressed down. Thousands upon thousands of thick earth chi flowed, surged, rubbed against each other, and swept across the basement. It was as if the basement was going to explode. On top of it, the entire 1,000-foot-tall palace of treasures was trembling. The ground was shaking and the mountains were shaking. Many formation runes flickered violently before it stabilized. The earth-type energy was much more powerful than the spirit chi of the earth veins. It was like thousands of mountains falling together, a giant meteorite or endless lava flowing. One of them could crush a foundation establishment overlord and severely injure a golden core overlord. Whoosh! Jiang Tian quickly retracted his divine will. Immediately, the the Star River crystal sand returned to silence, and the thick earth aura quickly withdrew. These Milky Way crystal sand naturally contained a great amount of magic power and also had spirituality. Once it was probed by one's divine sense, it would immediately swell and counterattack. No wonder the Milky Way crystal sand was abandoned by the previous sect masters and placed in the basement. They won't be able to control it at all, and they might even be suppressed to the point of death. Jiang Tian's expression changed slightly, and his eyes narrowed. An extremely small soul devourer burst forth, slowly searching to avoid being devoured. Finally, Jiang Tian's soul devourer consciousness touched a gigantic stone cauldron several hundred feet underground. Even Jiang Tian would find it difficult to move this yellow sand. Jiang Tian carefully probed with his divine sense and discovered that the gravel was slowly flowing like water. And the source of this sand flow was this stone cauldron. This stone cauldron had 3 legs and 2 handles. If one did not look at it carefully, they would believe that it was just a strangely shaped stone. It was rugged, mottled, uneven, and covered in moss and warts. It was simple and primitive to the extreme, and it had experienced countless years. Not only is it a chaos source rock, but it is also in the shape of an ancient cauldron. It's a divine material of heaven and earth. It's definitely a divine material of heaven and earth. Jiang Tian was overjoyed and shocked. Jiang Tian had once dominated all the worlds in his previous life and was only a step away from Hongmeng's divine capital. He had seen countless treasures of heaven and earth. His horizons could be said to be extraordinary. Even in the central galaxy in the depths of the universe, how many of the treasures in the immortal holy lands of the unparalleled sects could catch his eye, let alone the borderlands of Earth and the surrounding dimensional worlds, where spiritual energy was scarce. But at this moment, seeing this chaos source rock cauldron, Jiang Tian's heart could not help but beat wildly. He was moved and overjoyed. A cauldron, 2 handles, 3 legs. Tao begets 1, 1 begets 2, 2 begets 3, 3 begets all living things. All living things carry yin and embrace yang. Good. Good, good. It actually already has Tao laws. Jiang Tian sighed repeatedly with emotion. This chaos source rock cauldron could be said to be an immortal treasure. In the boundless universe, the vast galaxy, and amongst the billions of stardust, one might not be able to be born in tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years. This stone cauldron was heavy like a myriad of mountains. Every striation on it was very natural and simple, and it was born from heaven and earth. It was suffused with a trace of the chaotic aura of Hongmeng. Jiang Tian immediately sensed its natural Tao, the earth, and thick earth that carried things, and the charm of nourishing a myriad of living things. This subtle feeling was not Jiang Tian's misconception. This thing had boundless magical uses and immeasurable value. If it fell into the hands of a soul transformation realm expert, it could open up a paradise. If it was obtained by an immortal emperor, it could open up a galaxy world. If it was obtained by a soul transformation realm expert of Hongmeng, it could even open up a universe. Once this stone cauldron was born and spread, it would surely be earth-shattering. Not to mention the ruins of immortality and the various multidimensional worlds would make a move to fight for it. Probably even those immortal sects and holy grounds at the center of the universe would be moved and coveted, and they would fight to the death. The aura of the primal chaos source rock was as heavy as a mountain. As a rare immortal item in the world, no one could calmly face it. This primal chaos source rock cauldron and the galaxy crystal sand will definitely allow me to refine the strongest earth-type divine body. It can even allow many divine bodies to reach perfection and condense a fake core. There might even be more. Jiang Tian's eyes were focused as his fingers moved and he quickly planned. But as the saying goes, a gentleman's wealth is his own ruin. This thing is a rare treasure of heaven and earth. Once it is born, it will definitely attract the attention of the Almighties in the depths of the universe. I need to hide it. In the end, it will become an item of the righteous Tao. Now, I have to think of a divine art that can combine the primal chaos source rock cauldron with my divine body. If he wanted to combine the primal chaos source rock cauldron with a certain divine body, even those immortal sacred grounds and peerless sects in the central galaxy would be at a loss and would have to exhaust all their abilities. Faced with this problem, even the divine sons and fairies of the celestial world and divine world would sigh and be at their wits' end. They might be able to absorb the energy of the galaxy crystal sand and refine it into a dharma treasure. They would be satisfied and wouldn't dare to ask for more. They would feel very regretful, but they wouldn't have a better idea. This was because this primal chaos source rock cauldron wasn't something they could control. If they wanted to use it and use it freely, they would have to be at least soul formation realm experts. However, Jiang Tian had cultivated for 10,000 years in his previous life and was very experienced. How could he return empty-handed after entering a treasure mountain? He was determined to combine the primal chaos source rock cauldron with his earth-type divine body. Many divine bodies and matching cultivation techniques flashed in his mind. Soon, he chose the most suitable earth-type divine body. Thick earth-winged dragon divine body. Jiang Tian's eyes lit up as he secretly made up his mind. Winged dragon. It had appeared many times in Huaxia legends. It was a dragon with wings, so it was also called flying dragon, winged dragon. The Great Wilderness Sutra in the Classic of Mountains and Seas recorded that the winged dragon had killed Qiyu and Kuafu. It went to the south, so it rained a lot there. It was rumored that Qiyu and Kuafu were killed by the winged dragon. With a swing of its tail, it could create rivers, and with a sweep of its claws, it could destroy cities and mountains. However, in reality, the winged dragon wasn't just a mythical beast in myths and legends. In the universe, it was also a powerful mythical beast that could stand shoulder to shoulder with the azure dragon, black tortoise, and vermilion bird. In other words, the winged dragon on Earth wasn't a real winged dragon. It was just a strange beast with a trace of the winged dragon's bloodline. The winged dragon, the Earth division of the 5 elements, loved to devour Earth as food. A pure-blooded adult winged dragon was hundreds of millions of feet long and could stretch across the galaxy. It could swallow a continent or a planet with its mouth open. Jiang Tian's plan was to refine a thick earth-winged dragon divine body and then use the sky-stealing sun-swapping technique to refine the primal chaos source rock cauldron into the winged dragon divine body. In this way, the primal chaos source rock would provide the divine body with an endless amount of earth energy. Secondly, it could also hide the energy of the primal chaos source rock cauldron from everyone. Not many people had seen the primal chaos source rock cauldron, and it was very similar to the thick earth energy. Only soul formation grand cultivators with extraordinary knowledge or the divine princes and saintesses of the immortal sacred grounds would be able to tell. After making up his mind, Jiang Tian approached the primal chaos source rock cauldron step by step. Boom! The thick earth energy immediately rose again. The thick earth energy was like a torrent of xianhuang qi, forming a sandstorm in the sky. Every grain of sand was as heavy as a mountain, and even the void was crushed to pieces, emitting crisp cracking sounds. Everyone could see that Jiang Tian's clothes were instantly pierced through by the sand and turned into threads. There were even traces of blood on Jiang Tian's skin. That was rare. Jiang Tian had 4 divine bodies at the moment. His body was powerful and his true essence was much more powerful than that of a normal peak-stage golden core cultivator. Normally, he didn't need to activate them and there would be astral winds protecting his body. Even a nuclear explosion wouldn't cause any obvious damage to him. But at that moment, Jiang Tian's skin was cracking and bleeding, which showed how terrifying the galaxy crystal sandstorm and the thick earth energy were. Open! Jiang Tian's face turned serious. With a low shout, the gung metal divine body exploded. Golden light formed a screen, blocking out the sand and thick earth aura. The sand and the gung metal true essence rubbed against each other and there were some sparks, but it couldn't hurt Jiang Tian in the end. The closer he got to the primal chaos source rock cauldron, the heavier the thick earth energy was and the more galaxy crystal sand there were. Those stones were like stars in the sky, flickering with a myriad of colors. Just one of them was enough to crush a foundation establishment cultivator. Jiang Tian moved forward with difficulty. But when he was 10 steps away from the primal chaos source rock cauldron, even with 4 divine bodies, he couldn't withstand it anymore. The primal chaos source rock cauldron was too terrifying. It could already be called the cauldron of Myriad Mountain. The primal chaos energy inside was enough to shake the mountains and flatten the land within a 1,000-mile radius. Its power was comparable to an attack from a soul formation cultivator, which was at the level of destroying the world. Open again. Jiang Tian narrowed his eyes and pondered for a moment. Streams of black water spun and formed a black water shield. Together with the gung metal light shield, they blocked the galaxy crystal sand and thick earth energy outside. In the end, Jiang Tian was only 1 step away from the primal chaos source rock cauldron. Jiang Tian's forehead was covered in sweat. He took a deep breath and the swaying divine tree suddenly exploded. A towering tree grew out from behind him, with greenwood spirit chi hanging from its branches and leaves. Rise! After Jiang Tian's shout, the roots of the swaying divine tree went deep underground and went straight for the primal chaos source rock cauldron. Chapter 1151. The galaxy crystal sand was so heavy that any other divine body would have been crushed if they tried to force their way in. But the whirling divine tree was different. It was the tree of creation, the origin tree of a world. It could naturally devour all Earth-type aura and energy. It could even be called its nemesis. The aura of the galaxy crystal sand could be instantly absorbed by these roots. The more powerful the aura was, the stronger the roots became. The roots of the whirling divine tree kept absorbing and devouring the aura of the galaxy crystal sand around it, becoming thicker and stronger. They were like dragons drilling into a mountain, crazily growing downwards. Even the roots that were exposed above the ground expanded like balloons, spreading out in all directions and filling up the surrounding area. Rumble. The sandy ground rose high. In the end, a few roots that were thick and large like dragons coiled tightly around the chaotic source cauldron. This galaxy crystal sand is really extraordinary. I only absorbed a few hundred grains, but my whirling divine tree has reached greater success. Its power has increased tenfold. Jiang Tian was shocked, and a hint of ecstasy appeared in the depths of his eyes. At this moment, not only were the roots of the whirling divine tree stronger, but even its branches had become as green as jade. Its leaves had also become more solid and plump. The thread-like aura of the greenwood had already spread into clouds in the air, sprinkling green raindrops, full of vitality. Jiang Tian suppressed his excitement and activated the whirling divine tree. Rumble. Earth-shattering sounds could be heard as the roots curled and pulled the chaos source rock out. Every grain of galaxy crystal sand was incomparably heavy. Countless grains of galaxy crystal sand were pulled and flowed, creating a series of loud noises. It was as if an earthquake had erupted, tens of thousands of mountains had collapsed, and countless boulders had rolled down. At this moment, the area within 100 miles of Wanshui Mountain trembled violently. The thick chi of earth was pushed out, and the clouds on the mountain were stirred up into rings of clouds, spreading out continuously. 10 miles, 100 miles, they were pushed out continuously. This time, the entire Changshan sect was alarmed. It was so loud that it could be heard all over Skylight. What's going on? Such a loud noise, even the Wanshui mountain is shaking. Is this the descent of a god? How terrifying! Tens of thousands of people in the longevity sect, from the elders and hall masters to the servants and servants, all looked at the crumbling treasure vault with trembling eyes. Hundreds of millions of people in Skylight, including the cultivators from the sects and families and the civilians in the mortal cities, were all watching the battle in awe. This is the might of Xing Tu, the new leader of the longevity sect. He's like a true god, surpassing a true god. Immediately, countless people kowtowed, loudly shouting the name of Star Slaughter sect leader, their minds trembling. Whoosh! At the instant Jiang Tian stretched out his hand to touch the chaotic origin stone, a swish resounded out as the stellar crystal sand that was revolving in the surroundings swiftly settled down while the surging aura of primordial chaos was swiftly restrained and returned to silence. Jiang Tian let out a long sigh of relief. The primordial chaos aura was too terrifying. If it continued to wreak havoc like this, even with his strength, he would have no choice but to retreat. Jiang Tian grabbed it with both hands and slowly raised the primal chaos source stone. Through the primordial chaos aura, one could see that the primal chaos source stone seemed to have formed a world of its own. The lumps and bumps were like mountains, the valleys and depressions were like rivers and basins, and the moss-like existences were actually ancient trees and strange spirit trees upon closer inspection. This primal chaos source stone was a supreme-grade divine material that was completely superior to heavenly materials and deity materials. This stone was formed entirely by the primordial chaos aura of Hongmeng. This primordial chaos aura of Hongmeng was extremely rare. Sometimes it was formed naturally, sometimes it was formed with Dharma power when the Hongmeng god created a world. A wisp of energy could kill a golden core cultivator and severely injure a soul formation cultivator. For example, the heaven-mending stone, the mysterious yellow stone, the five-colored stone, the seven-colored stone, and the other famous wondrous stones in the cultivation world, and even the immortal world and the god world, were far too inferior compared to the heaven-mending stone. With this primal chaos source stone, I can finally create the fifth divine body. A trace of joy appeared on Jiang Tian's face. He placed the primal chaos source stone cauldron on the ground and sat down cross-legged. I am going to cultivate in seclusion. Do not disturb me even if the sky falls and the earth sinks. Otherwise, die. Jiang Tian transmitted his voice using his divine sense. Yes. Many of the Changshan sect's upper echelons heard it clearly. They were so shocked that their faces turned pale and they hurriedly kowtowed. In addition, in the northern region, those forces that once looked down on me are all suppressed. If they were loyal and of great use, they could be kept. If they are stubborn, get rid of them. Jiang Tian transmitted his voice again. Yes. We will obey the sect master's decree. Grand Elder Whitebeard, Fairy Luo Mei and the other upper echelons all kowtowed. As for Jiang Tian, after leaving a few restrictions around him, he sat cross-legged on the galaxy crystal sand and began to cultivate. The endless galaxy crystal sand became his resources. Only to see. As Jiang Tian circulated the 9 transformations transcendental divine mystery art, the primal chaos source stone and endless galaxy crystal sand began to emit earth elemental aura. Streaks of pale yellow light poured into Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian's dantian was like a deep black hole that began to crazily devour the aura like a whale sucking in water. Once the earth elemental aura entered, it immediately turned into earth elemental true essence and covered the dantian in layers. Earth elemental true essence was beneficial to all living things. Earth was the foundation of all living things. It made his dantian even denser and more fertile. It began to nourish the whirling divine tree, the Xianshui azure dragon, and the gung metal divine body. The gung metal divine body was even showing signs of reaching perfection and peak. A fake core was slowly forming in his body. This primal chaos source stone is indeed extraordinary. I have many divine bodies now and they are far superior to ordinary physiques. It's like comparing a supercar to a tricycle. But if I want to nourish my divine body, I need more spirit chi. It's like using a higher grade of gasoline. Ordinary spirit chi is sometimes useless. And this primal chaos source stone can provide an endless amount of energy to realize the limit of strengthening and sublimation of my divine body, Jiang Tian thought in his heart. He executed the myriad creation spirit art and shrunk the primal chaos source stone, gently activating it with his magic power. Instantly, as if the universe had exploded, a vast amount of energy surged towards Jiang Tian's dantian, setting off raging waves. Numerous illusory stars appeared in the air above his dantian. The earth extended, becoming vast and heavy. Strange peaks rose, forming continuous mountains and fertile plains. The primal chaos source stone was an earth elemental divine material. It had boundless earth elemental aura. Not only could it give birth to the earth and mountains, but it could also give birth to a sky full of stars. At this moment, it was unknown how much of the aura of the beginning of chaos was condensed in the primal chaos source stone. If it was in the hands of a soul formation expert, it could even evolve into a small world. At this moment, even with the support of 4 divine bodies, Jiang Tian was a little unable to bear it. It was as if his dantian was about to be crushed and his bones were about to shatter. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Jiang Tian took a deep breath and steadied his mind. He began to refine the primal chaos source stone's aura drop by drop, absorbing it frantically. 1 drop, 2 drops, 3 drops. Presently, the aged gold, mystic water, vermilion bird flame, and whirling azure wood within Jiang Tian's body, coupled with the chaotic origin rock on the outside, were equivalent to having the 5 elements complete. They circulated ceaselessly and endlessly, and they'd attained a miraculous balance. Between heaven and earth, there were 5 types of powerful yuan qi. They were known as the connate 5 virtues. This time, it was not only the earth elemental aura in Jiang Tian's body that increased, but the other 4 divine bodies were also nourished and advanced to the limit. Within Jiang Tian's dantian, the aged metal, mystic water, azure dragon, dancing vermilion bird, and radiant vermilion bird were constantly being nourished and grew rapidly. While Jiang Tian was cultivating in seclusion, the entire northern region was shaken and stirred up a bloody storm. Windblade City, City Lord Residence. In the past few days, City Lord Feng Xiaohai's face had been dark and gloomy. He was gritting his teeth in hatred. His son, Feng Batian, had actually been killed by a Yan Huang tribe member, the Star Butcher. He could not accept this. Bastard! Fuck you, Star Butcher! How dare you kill my beloved son? I will tear you to pieces and eat your flesh. Feng Xiaohai was drunk. He gritted his teeth and his eyes were red. A lowly Yan Huang tribe member actually dares to kill my son. Even if you enter the longevity sect, I will take revenge. His father, Feng Duoshan, was a guest elder and had a great influence in the longevity sect. Moreover, Windblade City had also offered many natural treasures to the longevity sect. Ming Rui would not pursue the matter of killing the Star Butcher. And that Mao Bohu. He is obviously allowing him to commit murder. How dare he take in a Yan Huang tribe member? I will not let him go. Gather the troops and attack Lush Forest City. I will personally lead the troops and massacre the city. With the suppression of the longevity sect, will he dare to resist? His command had the power to topple mountains and overturn seas. Instantly, the entire city was filled with scouts. Tens of thousands of troops gathered. Their blades were cold and their armor shone. Their killing intent was boiling. Even the cultivators from the famous mountains around the city came to help. Feng Xiaohai roared to the sky, his killing intent raging. Mobilize all troops and hunt down the Yan Huang tribe members. Regardless of gender, age, kill them all on the spot. I will kill 1,000,000 Yan Huang tribe members to accompany my son. Star Butcher, fuck your mother. How dare you kill my son? I can't kill you with my own hands, but can't I kill your tribe members? Who do you think you are? You are just an ant, not the longevity sect leader. Also, offer 10 million crystal bulbs worth of refining materials to the longevity sect. Support the longevity sect to break through space and attack Earth. After issuing the orders one by one, the anger in his heart subsided slightly. He stood up, dressed neatly, and was about to go to Lush Forest City to kill some Yan Huang tribe members to vent his anger. He heard that Lush Forest City had become a shelter for the Yan Huang tribe refugees. Hundreds of thousands of people had gathered. This time, he would kill to his heart's content. At this moment, a guard hurriedly rushed in and reported, City Lord, Fairy Luo Mei has come to visit. Hearing this, Feng Xiaohai was shocked. He quickly went to greet her and said respectfully, Feng Xiaohai, the City Lord of Windblade City, greets the special envoy. May I know what instructions the special envoy has for me? Accompanied by dozens of experts, Fairy Luo Mei arrived in a treasure carriage. She floated like a fairy and her face was cold. Seeing Feng Xiaohai, she said plainly, there are a few things for you. First, the new sect leader Jiang, is about to ascend to the throne. Prepare a congratulatory gift. The new sect leader may summon you at any time. What? Feng Xiaohai was shocked. What was going on? His father, Feng Doshan, was well informed and often informed him about the affairs of the longevity sect. Why didn't he know about such a big thing? Chapter 1152. Feng Xiaohai quickly bowed and said, "Congratulations to the new sect leader Jiang. May he live a long and prosperous life. Don't worry, Fairy Luo Mei. I'll do my best." Fairy Luo Mei looked around and asked, "You're preparing troops. Are you going to do something?" "Yes." Feng Xiaohai said flatteringly, "I heard that Maolin City's Mao Bohu disobeyed the orders of the Changxing sect and took in tens of thousands of Yan Huang tribesmen. I'm going to kill them." Fairy Luo Mei frowned, but before she could say anything, Feng Xiaohai asked excitedly, "Fairy Luo Mei, you recommended Star Protector Immortal II of the Mao family to the Changxing sect. Is he dead? You want Star Slaughter to die?" Fairy Luo Mei asked with a cold smile and squinted her eyes. "Fairy Luo Mei, don't misunderstand. I have no problem with you and respect you very much. But this kid killed my son. How can I let him go?" Seeing her displeased expression, Feng Xiaohai hurriedly chuckled and said with an expectant face, "My father plans to find an elite outer sect disciple to challenge Star Slaughter on the day of the competition. I think that Aunt Star Slaughter is already dead." He laughed sinisterly. "Fairy Luo Mei, since this kid is a Yan Huang tribesman, no matter how high his cultivation is, he's still a troublemaker." He laughed and said with satisfaction, "He's dead. It's better for him to die cleanly so that Cult Master Jiang won't find out. If he continues to blame you, it won't be good for you. You don't have to thank me. Come. I've prepared some wine. Let's have a drink." Fairy Luo Mei shook her head and said mockingly, "Feng Xiaohai, I really don't know how an idiot like you became a city lord. This family was full of idiots and idiots." Feng Batian was reckless and brainless during the scripture preaching ceremony on Golden Lotus Mountain. But now it seemed like this was inherited. It's based on strength. Feng Xiaohai laughed and thought to himself, "My old man is a guest elder. I'm not inferior to you, Fairy Luo Mei. Wine, we'll drink later." Fairy Luo Mei said coldly, "I've said that I have some news to tell you. I'm not done yet." "Fairy, please speak." "The second piece of news is that your father, Feng Duoshan, has been sacrificed in the grand competition of the sects. My condolences." "What?" Feng Xiaohai was stunned. He couldn't believe it. His father was a Golden Core True Immortal, and as a guest elder, he didn't need to participate in the sect's grand competition. How could he have died? "Did you fight side by side with this new cult master Jiang, challenging the previous cult master Ming Rui and dying?" He had died a worthy death. He died tragically and gloriously. This is the glory of our Feng family and the entire Windblade city. After a long while, Feng Xiaohai finally came back to his senses. He let out a long sigh and said with reddened eyes. Fairy Luo Mei declined to comment. Feng Xiaohai broke into a smile and said expectantly, "Presumably, Sect Master Jiang will also thank me heavily and reward me, right?" "No, he failed to challenge Cult Master Jiang and was killed," Fairy Luo Mei said mockingly. This, Feng Xiaohai was greatly surprised, and then his heart ached and he was extremely depressed. Without a backer, it would be difficult for him to survive in the future. According to the rules, the families of those who died in the sect's grand competition would be rewarded and compensated, but you won't have the chance this time. Fairy Luo Mei said slowly. "Why? Why can't I be rewarded and compensated? Did my father die for nothing?" Feng Xiaohai said angrily. "Fairy Luo Mei, are you picking on me? The Feng family has always been courteous to you, and we have never offended you." "I'm not picking on you, it's the new sect Master Jiang who is picking on you." Fairy Luo Mei said coldly. I've never met this sect master Jiang, and I've never heard of him. Why is he picking on me? Feng Xiaohai was so frightened that his soul almost left his body. His face was covered in cold sweat as he trembled and frowned. What kind of status was the sect master of the Changshan sect? He could crush him with just a finger. You're so ignorant. This sect master Zhang's other name is. Fairy Luo Mei said mockingly. Star Butcher. These two words were like two heavy hammers that smashed into Feng Xiaohai's chest, making it difficult for him to breathe. This news was too shocking. Star Butcher was not dead. Not only was he not dead, but he had also killed his father and become the new sect master of the Changshan sect. He was just a despicable Yan Huang tribe member, and his combat power was not at the peak of the Golden Core realm. How could he defeat all the heroes and rise to the top? This news was like a 3-year-old kid defeating boxing champion Mike Tyson and winning the golden belt. It shocked him greatly. His expression changed drastically, and he could not even stand properly. He stumbled back 5 or 6 steps before he could stabilize himself. How is this possible? Fairy Luo Mei, you must be joking. Feng Xiaohai only felt his head buzzing, he felt dizzy, his eyes were about to split open, and he cried out in despair. Of course I'm not joking. Fairy Luo Mei said coldly. Although Feng Xiaohai was an idiot, he knew that a small wind blade city would not be able to stand up to the Changshan sect and face the new sect master head-on. Jiang Tian did not even need to do it himself. He only needed to give an order, and the countries, cities, and sects in the north would tear Wind Blade City to pieces. Feng Xiaohai was scared out of his wits. He immediately knelt down and said sincerely, Fairy Luo Mei, please forgive me. From now on, the grudge between Wind Blade City and the sect master of the Taichu sect is written off. Moreover, we will definitely be loyal to the sect master and work diligently. If the sect master has any orders, we will not hesitate even if we have to climb a mountain of swords or dive into a pot of boiling oil. Yes, Fairy Luo Mei, we know we were wrong. We will definitely be loyal to sect master Jiang. The surrounding people all knelt down on the ground and cowered like quails, lowering their heads and begging for mercy. Isn't it a little too late to pledge your loyalty at this time? Fairy Luo Mei sneered and said, moreover, you have killed many Yan Huang tribe members. You have to account for it. As soon as she finished her words. Behind her, a few experts at the level of hall masters swung their swords. Ah! Fairy Luo Mei, you are so cruel. Feng Xiaohai's face turned pale with fright as he roared in anger. He had already turned into a gust of wind, dodging the layers of saber shadows as he whistled towards the outside. Do you think you can run away? Feng Xiaohai had just flown a few hundred meters away. Suddenly, a giant golden palm fell from the sky and exploded Feng Xiaohai's body. He turned into a rain of flesh and blood. It was an expert at the later stage of the Golden Core realm. Everyone else was scared out of their wits and did not even dare to move. In Windblade City, anyone who has killed a Yan Huang tribe member will be killed without mercy. Kill anyone who is a descendant of the Feng family, regardless of gender or age. Fairy Luo may seem to be ethereal and otherworldly, but she was decisive and ruthless. She immediately ordered, investigate the others. Punish them according to their crimes. Destroy their cultivation, demote them to mortals, or cut off their limbs as punishment. Suddenly, one by one, experts in black robes descended from the sky. There were hundreds of Foundation Establishment Realm experts and many of them were at the Golden Core realm. Swords flashed from time to time. Blood spurted and screams echoed. This place turned into hell. 10 minutes later, there were hundreds of corpses on the ground. None of the Feng family members had escaped. They were all dead. Cloud Mist Nation, capital, inside the palace. In a dense banana forest, a cool breeze blew gently. It was quiet and refined. In the middle of the forest, Prince Mo Yang shaved his head and cut off his emotions. He was like an old monk in meditation, breathing slowly. After all, Cloud Mist Nation was a prosperous nation and did not lack immortal medicines. At this moment, the blisters on his body had completely disappeared. He was still handsome, but there was a trace of fortitude and tenacity in his temperament. Around him, there were many priceless spiritual chi-gathering spirit arrays that were constantly operating. They gathered all the spiritual chi in a radius of dozens of miles. Who? Prince Mo Yang was immersed in cultivation. When he took a breath, a thick spiritual chi drilled into his dantian. As he exhaled, a gust of white primordial chi reached hundreds of feet, causing the banana forest to sway from side to side. My son was defeated by Star Butcher this time. Instead, it aroused his courage to improve. It's a blessing. Outside the banana forest, the Empress looked at Prince Mo Yang with joy and exclaimed. Yes. He's making rapid progress. In just a few days, he's about to break through the second level of the Golden Core realm and gather the strength of 10 divine elephants. The Emperor of Cloud Mist Nation, Mo Luo, had a majestic body. He was strict. On his serious face, there was a trace of gratification that had not been seen for a long time. Prince Mo Yang was originally a talented person. It was just that he had rarely met an opponent before, which had nurtured his arrogant personality. This battle could be considered to have let him know that there was always someone better than him out there. Once I enter the Golden Core realm, I'm immortal. Today, I've awakened the strength of 100 divine elephants and entered the third level of the Golden Core realm. Suddenly, a loud shout was heard. 100 divine elephants appeared behind Prince Mo Yang. They seemed to be able to lift up the sky and trample the mountains and rivers. Mo Yang, you've broken through. 2 levels in a row. The Emperor and his wife exclaimed together. They were overjoyed and quickly walked up to Prince Mo Yang. The third level of the Golden Core realm is too powerful. I feel like I have endless strength. Prince Mo Yang was handsome and elegant. He clenched his fists and smiled proudly. His eyes were cold as he laughed disdainfully. That Star Butcher is indeed talented and powerful. However, if he were in front of me now, I would be able to break his bones with my bare hands. In his opinion, Jiang Tian was only at the second level of the Golden Core realm. The current him was enough to crush him. That Star Butcher is too ruthless. He beat my son so badly. The Empress was beautiful, but she was ruthless. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. She could not help but snort and say disdainfully. If I don't avenge him, I won't be able to eat or sleep in peace. We won't bully him with the prestige of the royal family. Now that my son is at the third level of the Golden Core realm, he will be trampled to death. I now know that there is always someone better than me. I have to be down to earth in everything I do. Prince Mo Yang nodded. His face was firm and resolute. This breakthrough is the result of the potential that I have accumulated over the past few years. It is the result of the ultimate sublimation. If I want to break through again, I'm afraid it will take me 100 years of hard work. Father, Mother, I plan to join the outer sanctum of the Changshan sect. I will start as a servant disciple to train myself. He was full of confidence. He stood proudly with his hands behind his back. He looked disdainful and said confidently, I will stand up from where I lay down. I will find a chance to trample that Star Butcher under my feet and return the humiliation 100 times over. I will rebuild my firm belief. Chapter 1153. Servant Disciple. How could you suffer like that? The Empress exclaimed. She could not bear to see her son suffer like that. My son will never be a coward. He will get up from where he fell. He will take back what he lost. The Emperor patted the Empress's shoulder and nodded approvingly. He said proudly. Prince Mo Yang was only training himself. More importantly, he would be qualified to challenge Star Butcher if he joined the longevity sect. He wanted to regain his confidence and glory. However, Princess Yu Jiao rushed in and said, Father, Mother, something big has happened. What's the matter? Brother, you must hang in there. Princess Yu Jiao looked at her brother with a complicated expression and said in a low voice, "An elder of the longevity sect has come to announce a piece of news. Celestial Master Star Butcher defeated Ming Rui and became the sect leader of the longevity sect. The longevity sect wants father and brother to go and pay respects to him." "What? How is that possible? Are you kidding me?" Prince Mo Yang's smile disappeared. "Brother, I'm not kidding." Princess Yu Jiao explained in detail. "He defeated Ming Rui, the sect leader of the longevity sect." Prince Mo Yang felt as if he had been slapped in the face. His eyes were wide open and his body was trembling. He felt his head was buzzing and was about to explode. What a blow! Star Butcher was at least at the peak of the Golden Core realm. He would not be able to catch up with Star Butcher even if he cultivated for another 100 or 1,000 years. "My son, you still have hope. I'm sure you can defeat him." Seeing that he was in a daze and had lost his spirit, the Empress was very distressed and nervous. She quickly hugged him in her arms and encouraged him. "He, the peak of the Golden Core realm. Defeat him? That's impossible." Prince Mo Yang closed his eyes and smiled bitterly. "Star Butcher, you've won. I thought you were only at level 2 of the Golden Core realm or middle stage of the Golden Core realm. My talent, my family background, my resources, they are all things that you can't catch up to. However, I didn't expect your trump card to be so terrifying." Prince Mo Yang felt ridiculous. He was like a clown and a frog at the bottom of a well. Just because he had broken through to Jindan Realm level 3, he was already so proud of himself. Yet, he still wanted to defeat Zhang Xian and become his direct disciple. However, he had already quietly defeated Ming Rui and ascended to the position of the longevity sect's leader. He had left him in the dust. "Stand up from where you fell." Emperor Mo Luo was very anxious. He said earnestly, "Mo Yang, where are your ambitions and aspirations? You have to pull yourself together." "No, I'll just lie down where I fell." The more Crown Prince Mo Yang thought about it, the more he despaired. The Dao heart that he had just condensed was actually crumbling and collapsing. "That's right, summon all my beautiful maids back. I want to indulge in sensual pleasures, I want to indulge in wine and revelry. Only in this way can I dispel the heavy pressure in my heart." Crown Prince Mo Yang laughed miserably and staggered out, leaving Mo Luo and the other two standing there looking at each other and sighing. It wasn't just in the Imperial Beast sect, the Wind Blade City, and the Cloud Mist Kingdom. Similar scenes were also happening in the Demonic Rock Temple, the Sword Palace, and other places. Many experts were paying close attention to this matter. They held an emergency meeting to discuss countermeasures. The main point of the meeting was, the longevity sect's leader, Ming Rui, has died in battle. The Yan Huang tribe's new leader, Star Butcher, has ascended to the top. We must not slaughter the Yan Huang tribe or provoke immortal Master Star Butcher again. Jiang Tian had just stepped into the West Earth world. In less than half a month, he had swept through the longevity sect with an invincible attitude and changed the world. The name of Star Butcher shook the world. At this time, the city lord residence of Maolin City was decorated with lanterns and colored banners. It was a joyous occasion. Singing and dancing celebrated the peace. Ever since Mao Hongdai had followed Jiang Tian to the longevity sect, the entire Mao family had been living under the shadow of the longevity sect. Especially after Maolin City began to accept the Yan Huang tribe, many powers began to attack Maolin City. After all, Fairy Luo Mei was not the only one in the longevity sect. She had many opponents and enemies. Many people did not give Fairy Luo Mei any face at all. Maolin City was constantly being hunted down by the Yan Huang tribe. They fought the armies of the Mao family and Fan family. Many were sacrificed, and the entire Mao family was in danger. The Mao family was like a leaf in a storm. They were scared witless. In the end, some elders felt that they could not hold on any longer. They wanted to go to the longevity sect and confess everything. In the end, it was Mao Bohu who killed two of the older generation. He stood his ground and suppressed the entire Mao family. And now, Jiang Tian had killed Ming Rui on Longevity Mountain in front of tens of thousands of people. He had ascended to the position of leader and shocked many cities in the 4 countries of the north. And he had announced to the world that no country, sect, organization, or power could hunt down the Yan Huang tribe. Otherwise, the Longevity sect would immediately take them down. The situation had taken a turn for the worse. From today onwards, no one would dare to challenge Jiang Tian, at least in the north. At the same time, no power would dare to challenge the Mao family and attack Maolin City. Those sects, gangs, and armies that had been causing trouble in Maolin City and hunting down the Yan Huang tribe immediately withdrew from Maolin City. Without the Longevity sect, no one would dare to provoke the wrath of a nascent soul expert. Besides, Jiang Tian had already taken down the Longevity sect. Today was the Mao family's grand celebration. Mao Hongdai had become the personal disciple of Jiang Tian of the Longevity sect, and was personally taught by Jiang Tian and many other grand elders and elders. This was a joyous occasion, and the Mao family was celebrating with a banquet. The young masters and young mistresses of the Fan family, Luo family, and other families had all come with their parents to congratulate them. The Star Butcher is too strong. That kind of terrifying power was enough to destroy more than half of the plaza. It was earth-shattering. Mao Billion had also benefited greatly and become an inner sect disciple. At this time, she was bragging to her sisters about the scene. He actually became the Longevity sect leader. Luo Qi and the others were shocked. They could not believe it. It was like a dream. They had only known Jiang Tian for a short period of time. In their eyes, Jiang Tian was still an unaffiliated cultivator with no foundation. Especially Jiang Tian's identity as a Yan Huang tribe member. They avoided him like the plague and were unwilling to get close to him. Later on, Jiang Tian had killed Feng Badian, Beast Thunder, Zen Master Heartless, and many other geniuses on the Golden Lotus platform. They had changed their opinion of him and did not dare to underestimate him. But in their hearts, Jiang Tian was as far as they could go. In fact, Jiang Tian would not have a good time in the Longevity sect. Feng Badian and Beast Thunder had seniors in the sect as guest elders and held high positions. Jiang Tian would be like a wolf in a tiger's den. He would be trampled to death. But they had not expected such an outcome. Will Senior Star Butcher be able to return this time? After hearing about the battle, Luo Qi was moved. Her beautiful eyes shone, and her cute little face was full of anticipation. That's right. Senior will revisit old places, won't he? This is the place where he rose to prominence. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present looked at Luo Qi nervously, their faces full of longing. Luo Qi sighed and shook her head gently. He's not coming back. Hearing this, everyone's faces dimmed and lost their luster. They sighed in disappointment. He's not coming back. Luo Qi was also dazed, and she murmured in a low voice. At this time, the regret in their hearts could not be washed away even by the 3 rivers and 5 seas. Originally, they had been the first to get to know Jiang Tian. If they had been as discerning as Mao Hongdai and as loyal as Fan Shouju, then they would have become friends of the Longevity sect. They would have been able to become elite disciples of the Longevity sect and become city lords or generals. They would have received great benefits. Just the reputation of being friends of the Longevity sect leader would be enough for them to brag about for the rest of their lives. Why is Star Butcher back? He is the sect leader now, high and mighty, and has a lot to do every day. Why would he care about small characters like us? Luo Qi explained with a smile. At this time, Mao Hongdai walked over and scolded, Billion, you are not allowed to call the sect leader Star Butcher by his name. How dare you? Mao Billion was so scared that her face turned pale. She trembled and said hurriedly, Sister, I know I was wrong. I won't do it again. Now, she was completely convinced by this sister of hers. Not only was her cultivation base powerful, but she was also discerning. Now, she had become the sect leader's disciple. Even the princess of a country had to treat her with respect. How could she compare to her? When a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs will ascend to heaven. Mao Hongdai ignored her and walked to the back garden. She asked Fan Xiuzhu, "Is Princess Yu Jiao here?" "Yes, and Crown Prince Mo Yang is here too. He brought a lot of congratulatory gifts. It seems like he is frightened by Taichu's sect leader. I hope you can mediate between them and plead for them in front of the Taichu's sect leader." Fan Xiuzhu nodded and smiled. That Crown Prince Mo Yang is really annoying, but Princess Yu Jiao is indeed related to me. Sigh, I have to give her face. Mao Hongdai felt a headache coming. Half a month later, the vast amount of energy was compressed and condensed to form fake cores. Green Dragon Mystic Water, Aged Metal, Dancing Green Wood, and Phoenix True Fire. 4 fake cores floated in his dantian. Fake cores were the embryonic form of the golden core. They were considered small golden cores and were in the transitional state between the foundation establishment stage and the golden core stage. The heaven and earth spiritual chi contained in the primal chaos source stone was simply too dense. Moreover, it was the heaven and earth spiritual chi from the primal chaos source stone. It was far purer than the ordinary heaven and earth spiritual chi. It actually allowed Jiang Tian's other 4 godly bodies to evolve to the extreme, forming fake cores. In other words, Jiang Tian now had the strength of 4 divine-grade fake core cultivators. It was easy for him to kill nascent soul cultivators. The immortal cultivators call it the golden core, the Buddhist cultivators call it the Saraira, the monster cultivators call it the demonic core, and the fiendish cultivators call it the fiendish pill. But they all lead to the same destination. In essence, they are the core formed by one's own essence chi, blood, spirit, and energy. Once the fake core is formed, it is like a carriage changing its engine and turning into a car. At this moment, the 5 elements were present in Jiang Tian's dantian, forming a wondrous cycle that grew and multiplied endlessly. The fake cores of the other 4 divine bodies also allowed the earth element divine body to be formed faster. 3 days later, in Jiang Tian's dantian, there was already a vast plain with steep mountains stretching for tens of thousands of meters. And on top of it, a 10,000 feet long winged dragon was born. Jiang Tian's face revealed a gratified and ecstatic expression. Rays of divine light flickered in and out of his eyes, and he became spirited. The thick earth-winged dragon divine body was finally formed. Chapter 1154. The rain dragon stepped on the thick earth, and its body was covered in dense yellow scales. It wriggled through the mountains, and its claws grasped the resplendent stars. Wherever its tail passed, great rivers were formed. The winged dragon controlled the stars and turned them into rivers. In contrast, the originally domineering Xianshui azure dragon seemed small and weak. It cowered in the Xianshui lake with a sense of inferiority, not daring to show its head. Also, the divine body of the winged dragon had reached the initial success level, phenomenal success level, perfected level and peak stage under the nourishment of the chaotic source rock and formed a fake core of earth. All 5 fake cores were ready. If Jiang Tian combined the 5 fake cores into one, it would be a deity-grade golden core. It would be as good as the 5 elemental sacred core of the 5 elements immortal sect. It was the most powerful deity-grade golden core in the ancient cultivation theories. Even the large sects and sacred grounds in the deity realm couldn't produce one even after thousands of years and endless resources. I can't rush for quick success. Only when I have a solid foundation can I build a skyscraper. But Jiang Tian didn't do that. Because his goal wasn't a sacred grade or deity grade golden core, but a divine grade golden core. He wanted to form a special divine body based on the 4 different elements and merge the 9 divine bodies into one to reach the supreme chaotic divine body. Then, he would form a divine grade golden core. Only then would he have a higher chance of becoming a nascent soul cultivator, soul formation cultivator, tribulation cultivator, and even immortal ascension. If this news were to spread in the central galaxy, it would shock a lot of people and astonish the world. Who would have thought that at the edge of the desolate universe, in the lifeless Milky Way, and around the dried-up Earth, someone could condense a deity-grade golden core, but he still didn't care about it. Instead, he pursued the chaotic divine body and the divine-grade golden core. Boom! The earth shook. A towering mountain that seemed to be tens of thousands of meters tall emerged from Jiang Tian's dantian. The rest of it was hidden in the boundless void. This is the divine form of the earth-winged dragon. It can easily kill a peak-stage golden core overlord. Jiang Tian revealed a joyful expression and let out a long sigh. Divine form. That was the sign of a divine-grade golden core. It was a Dharma form that had reached the ultimate level. Every golden core overlord wanted to have a Dharma form, which was sometimes called an anomaly. Golden core overlords were much more powerful than Foundation establishment overlords because of the Dharma form. However, this did not mean that every golden core cultivator would be able to manifest the power of a Dharma power. At least a superior grade golden core, or even a transcendent grade golden core. Golden core overlord and Dharma's Dharma form was a Dharma form Dharma's Dharma form Dharma forms Dharma form. Beasts in the beasts in heavens in beasts as beasts beasts as beasts Dharma's beasts were beasts overlord beasts as beasts to form Dharma forms s Dharma forms beasts form Dharma form were not to, but the godly image based on the godly body was different. Divine form was the external manifestation of a divine-grade fake core. It wasn't fake but real. For example, the golden core in one's body could form a long river that could destroy mountains and crush other people's golden cores. If the golden core was formed into a halberd, it could be released to kill people. In short, once a divine-grade golden core was released, it could be controlled by one's heart. It was better than all Dharma treasures, talismans, array formations and so on. At that moment, he had already perfected all 5 divine bodies. However, the chaotic source cauldron was only a tiny part of it. This stone cauldron was worthy of being called a supreme divine material. It was an item that could split the heavens and split the earth apart. The energy it contained was simply too powerful. Next, I'll have to use sky-stealing sun-swapping to fuse the chaotic source cauldron into Yinglong's body and coexist with its core embryo to prevent others from discovering it. Jiang Tian thought to himself. Jiang Tian executed his mystic art. Instantly, Jiang Tian's dantian opened like a black hole, shrinking the chaotic source cauldron and absorbing it into his dantian. Jiang Tian left his consciousness imprint on the cauldron and used the earthen Yinglong to devour it and nourish it in the dantian of this divine body. In this process, it took Jiang Tian another 10 days of grinding. Next, I'll use my mystic art to deceive everyone. First, I'll suppress all my fake cores to Foundation Establishment Level 5. This will make it easier for me to condense the 4 divine bodies and new fake cores in the future. Finally, I'll reach the divine-grade chaotic golden core. Jiang Tian did this not only to leave room for him to condense the divine bodies in the future, but also to avoid the lightning tribulation. Once a cultivator reached the fake core level, they would be connected to the heavens and send down the lightning tribulation or even more tribulations. He had no choice but to condense his golden core to resist the heavenly tribulation. In the eyes of many cultivators, the lightning tribulation coexisted with danger and opportunity. It was also an unavoidable hurdle. Some cultivators even thought that the lightning tribulation was an opportunity to reach the limit. However, Jiang Tian had already gone through too many lightning tribulations in his previous life. He wasn't interested in this at all. It was just a waste of time. Yes, I'll adapt to the circumstances. Since I've already formed the earthen Yinglong divine body, I'll use the earthen lock of God. Jiang Tian thought and quickly came up with an idea. Rumble. Thick chains rose from the earth like dragons and danced in the air, entangling the Xianshui azure dragon, the whirling divine tree, the earthen Yinglong dragon, the true fire vermilion bird, and the Gengjin divine general. The chains were rooted in the earth and even connected to the inner wall of Jiang Tian's dantian, suppressing the energy of the divine bodies. Jiang Tian's fake core overlord's energy receded like a tide. His momentum was getting weaker and weaker. While Jiang Tian was reaching the limit in the Temple of Treasures deep in the Changshan sect. The true impact of Jiang Tian's ascension to the position of the Changshan sect master had just begun to spread. Jiang Tian had openly killed Ming Rui and the 3 guest elders during the bloodbath grand competition. He didn't deliberately hide it. This news couldn't be covered up at all. After all, there were tens of thousands of inner sect disciples and countless outer sect disciples present. There was also a lot of blood and flesh. 100,000 people witnessed Jiang Tian's massacre. The Changshan sect master, Ming Rui, was dead. This news swept across the entire northern region like a hurricane and spread to the entire West Earth dimension at an extremely fast speed. The Changshan sect master, Ming Rui, wasn't the founder of the Changshan sect. However, her reputation surpassed that of the previous sect masters. She was famous in the entire West Earth dimension and enjoyed a great reputation. She was the one who created the bloodbath body exchanging mystic technique and promoted many golden core overlords. Her power could be passed down iteratively. She was the one who created the 3 laws of Changshan and formed the challenge system. She stimulated the unparalleled potential of the disciples and gave a third-rate sect a new lease of life. She was the one who pushed a third-rate sect to a great sect that could stand shoulder to shoulder with Golden Rock Temple, Tingyu Floor, and Hehuan sect. Such a stunning woman had actually died tragically in a challenge. How could this not be shocking? One had to know that she had accepted numerous challenges and had never been defeated. Especially when she had died at the hands of a Yan Huang tribe member, an expert from the Earth world. It was unbelievable. The Western region, the Eastern region, the Southern region, and even the Middle Greater Realm where Golden Rock Temple was located. Many regions, countries, and cities were shaken and uneasy. True immortal Star Slaughter. This time, many people remembered this name. Originally, the Yan Huang tribe was an insignificant existence in their eyes. However, they no longer dared to underestimate them. Many people judged that Star Slaughter might not have reached the nascent soul stage. He might not even have formed a true Jindan. However, his strength was definitely enough to kill a Jindan cultivator, or even the strongest of the Jindan cultivators. There was no doubt about this. No one could refute it. Even the other elite orthodoxies of the Western Earth world, such as Golden Rock Temple, Tingyu Floor, Fire Worship Sect, and Hehuan Sect, had heard of this matter. They held secret meetings to discuss countermeasures. However, the true upper echelons had received much more information than ordinary sections. After all, the Longevity Sect was already the 5th power on this continent. Moreover, they were extremely aggressive and murderous. How could the other powers not be wary of them and not plant spies in them? Otherwise, they would have been wiped out by the Longevity Sect long ago. Star Slaughter. It's Kong Te-Chu from the Earth world. The sect masters of the great sects and the sect masters of the 1,000-year-old sects were so shocked that their eyes almost popped out of their sockets when they heard this news. Kong Te-Chu actually killed his way to the Western Earth world and defeated the Longevity Sect leader, Ming Rui. What is his intention for occupying the Longevity Sect? Countless eminent monks of Golden Rock Temple were uneasy and wary. Our disciple Ai Lian once invaded the Earth world. Although it was not the will of our upper echelons, will he act against us? The experts of Tingyu Floor looked towards the north, surrendering to Skylight Country and the Longevity Mountain. Star Slaughter is Kong Te-Chu from the Earth world. This child is filled with murderous intent. He cannot be left alive, or the Western Earth world will never be at peace. Instantly, the elite experts of the entire dimension were spreading the news and discussing countermeasures. Their killing intent surged as though they were facing a great enemy. Chapter 1155. In the capital of the Cloud Mist Country in the north. The city walls were majestic and the palaces were vast. The Spirit Gathering Array and the City Protection Array were constantly operating, emitting bright light. The array runes were shining from the sky and there were rumbling sounds, which could withstand the attacks of a golden core overlord. Dense spirit chi poured down like a waterfall. The spirit chi there was 100 times denser than that on Earth. Even the main training hall of Tianqing School had to admit defeat. Although the Cloud Mist Country was a secular country and wasn't as powerful as the Golden Rock Temple and the Changshan sect, it had the support of the extraordinary warrior mansion. There were many Foundation establishment cultivators and several Golden Core overlords there, which was comparable to many large sections. It was very safe there. Cultivators and mortals lived in harmony and it was very lively. There were many chambers of commerce and the business was prosperous. It was the shopping paradise of the entire Cloud Mist Country and even the entire north. Ladies from famous families were admiring flowers in the garden, the city lords and ministers were reporting to the imperial court, the overlords of the extraordinary warrior mansion were discussing with many cultivators, and the cultivators were trading Dharma treasures and Dharma artifacts. There were people from all walks of life. But on that day, the place was solemn. Rows of royal guards, wearing golden armor and golden helmets, holding long spears, stood on both sides of the main road. Their faces were solemn. In the sky, the overlords of the extraordinary warrior mansion were in uniform with black masks on their faces. The street was empty. Martial law had been imposed during the day and nobody was allowed to walk on the street. However, those who dared to show their faces were immediately killed. Many big shots were hiding in their mansions. They didn't even dare to speak loudly, fearing that they would be killed. What's going on? The last time the martial law was imposed during the day, there was a big change in the palace. Emperor Mo Luo and his brothers were fighting for the position of crown prince and they started a massacre. Is there an elder of a large sect here? I don't know. Everyone was confused and felt uneasy. They felt that something big was going to happen. Emperor Mo Luo of the Cloud Mist Country was a mid-stage Golden Core overlord. The Extraordinary Warrior Mansion was also an organization formed by a group of Golden Core overlords. They were powerful and guarded the Cloud Mist Country like the Grand Preceptor. Jiang Tian had killed many Golden Core cultivators since he conquered the 3 dimensions. However, Golden Core cultivators were considered powerful even on the cultivation planets in the central galaxy. They could even establish their own sections. Not to mention a dimensional world at the edge of the universe. The chief of the Extraordinary Warrior Mansion was called Imoya, and he was also the uncle of Emperor Mo Luo. Although he was only at the early Golden Core stage, his Divine Elephant Prison Suppression mystic art had reached perfection, and he was able to fight against a mid-Golden Core cultivator. At this time, these old men wearing white robes with divine elephant embroidery patterns on their chests stood outside the main hall with their hands behind their backs. They did not dare to make a sound. They trembled and didn't even have the courage to sneak a peek into the hall. These old men were the top experts of the Extraordinary Warrior Mansion, veteran Gold Core experts. Their statuses were revered and their authority overflowed the heavens. With a stomp of their feet, the Cloud Mist Country and even the entire northern region would tremble. However, at this moment, they did not even have the qualifications to enter the main hall. Many people were shocked when they saw this. Just which distinguished guest had arrived and actually caused the Cloud Mist Country to act as if they were facing a great enemy and be on such high alert? Just what kind of scheme were they brewing? At the same time, in the main hall, a mountain-like pressure rippled out, and a golden Buddhist light filled the hall. Buddhist chants rang out softly, turning this place into the Buddhist kingdom of the West. Ordinary Foundation establishment cultivators would be forced to kneel and beg for mercy if they came here. Only the Emperor Moya, who controlled the Extraordinary Warrior Mansion and suppressed the Cloud Mist Country, stood there carefully, serving tea and doing the work of a waiter. 2 people were sitting in the hall. One of them was a young monk in a golden robe with golden Buddhist beads hanging in front of his chest. He had sharp eyebrows, bright eyes, and a red dot between his eyebrows. He looked solemn. This monk had a large body and was extraordinarily mighty. He had achieved phenomenal success in his cultivation and was shining with golden light. He looked like a Buddha, far more powerful than the Buddhist cultivators Jiang Tian had seen in the Star World, the Sea of Suffering and the Salvation. As the saying goes, a bodhisattva lowers his eyebrows while a vajra glares angrily. Anyone who saw him would feel as if they were facing a true Buddha and would be filled with reverence and fear. His vast dharma could even crush an ordinary golden core realm cultivator to death in seconds. The young monk was unfamiliar, but Moya looked at him as if he was a god. Even if longevity cult master Ming Rui came personally, he might not have treated him so seriously. This monk had a complicated background. For example, he was the crown prince of the Golden Feather country in the southern border, the son that the Golden Feather Emperor disliked the most. He had been unrestrained since he was young and played with flowers. He was known as the #1 profligate in the royal family of West Earth. However, there were even more people who would respectfully call him, Son of Buddha. Actually, there was more than one Son of Buddha in Golden Rock Monastery, but everyone still called him Son of Buddha. This showed how special his position was. Son of Buddha with Buddha nature, known as Yu Jingtian in the secular world. That year, the Golden Feather Emperor chased him out of the family. He traveled thousands of miles in the martial world and met the previous Rulai by chance. When old Rulai saw him, he was astonished and said that he was a profligate and mischievous on the surface, but in reality, he was full of wisdom and had a Buddha nature. After reciting a scroll of Rulai's Mahayana Sutra, he comprehended 80% of it. Old Rulai was delighted and brought him to Golden Rock Monastery, where he imparted all of his cultivation to him. His Buddha nature stepped into the later stage of Golden Core realm and he was appointed as Son of Buddha, the disciple and successor of the current Rulai. Son of Buddha had once carried 2 Buddhist commandment knives, one of which was broken love and the other was broken desire. He traveled thousands of miles in West Earth and pierced through the vast West Earth with one knife, suppressing 4 great realms, a great region, and hundreds of countries and thousands of cities. In the past 10 years, he had traveled to numerous famous mountains and great sections. He was like a teacher and a friend to the founder of Sword Palace, the 1,000-year-old golden core sword god Wang Xianchao. He had once fought for a day and a night with the cult master of fire worship sect, Huofenshan, in the fiery desert of West Earth. He was also the sworn brother of the tower master of listening rain floor, Xiao Lingyu. This child's cultivation was strong, his innate talent was high, his battle achievements were brilliant, and his connections were vast. He was the best in the whole of West Earth. Young talents like Ji Han and Crown Prince Mo Yang were proud to be able to talk to him. Even the strong practitioners of the older generation had high praises for him, calling him the Buddhist cultivator with the highest chance of stepping into Nirvana realm in the past 1,000 years, surpassing all the previous sons of Buddha. Nirvana was a special realm for Buddhist cultivators. The strength of their abilities could be summarized in one word, comparable to nascent soul realm. And at this moment, the person sitting opposite Son of Buddha with Buddha nature was the father of Crown Prince Mo Yang, Emperor Mo Luo of Cloud Mist Country. Originally, Mo Luo was the ruler of a country after all, controlling endless territory and ruling over tens of thousands of people. He had a high position and authority, but at this moment, facing Son of Buddha with Buddha nature, he actually felt a little scared. In the depths of his eyes, there was a hint of fear. The last time I saw Son of Buddha was during the Naked Festival 10 years ago. At that time, I had just ascended to the throne and went to the Golden Rock Temple to pay respects to your master, Tathagata, and accept the Buddhist title. At that time, you were just a young man who had just entered old Tathagata's tutelage. Who would have thought that in just 20 years, you would become famous in West Earth, reaching the peak of Golden Core realm and becoming Son of Buddha, the candidate for the next Tathagata. Emperor Mo Luo of Cloud Mist Country respectfully offered tea with both hands, showing a look of reverence as he smiled apologetically. I'm just a candidate. Son of Buddha put his palms together and thanked him. Then, he took the tea and took a sip. He took a sip and said, how can I be praised by Emperor Mo Luo of Cloud Mist Country? Although I have been in the sect for 10 years and haven't left the mountain, I have heard that Emperor Mo Luo of Cloud Mist Country established the House of Outstanding Scholars. Cloud Mist Country is prosperous and its people are at peace. My master, Tathagata, once said that not to mention the northern region, even in the entire four great realms and the central region, the Maluo Emperor's divine elephant prison suppressing mysterious art can be ranked in the top 30 in terms of true essence. At the side, Moya was extremely shocked when he heard this, and he was also somewhat puzzled. He had heard that Son of Buddha often went around slaying demons and devils, tempering his Buddha heart and Buddha nature. His battle achievements were brilliant, so why did he say that his golden body had never left the mountain? Could it be, Moya suddenly thought of a possibility. Even with his heaven-defying cultivation and rock-solid Tao heart, he was still so shocked that his hands trembled, spilling some water from the teapot in his hands. Son of Buddha, you're too polite. The North region is just a barren land without any top orthodoxies. It's just a remote place. It can't be compared to the central region where Golden Rock Temple is located or your hometown, the South region. Emperor Mo Luo said a few more humble words, then suddenly asked, "May I know why Son of Buddha's clone has come?" As expected. It was his clone. Moya's heart was in turmoil. There were 6 great divine powers in Buddhism: karma connection, fate connection, mind connection, heavenly ears connection, heavenly eyes connection, and body manipulation. Among them, body manipulation was the most difficult to cultivate. Legend had it that it was only possible when one reached the peak of Golden Core realm. It could condense a clone and appear at will. Of course, the golden core of a Buddhist cultivator was not called a golden core, but a sarira. However, the essence was the same. It was the crystallization of chi, blood, energy, and dharma power. It was extremely powerful. At this moment, Moya, who controlled the extraordinary warrior mansion and commanded many experts, could not help but think in fear, although there were usually 5 or 6 bodhisattvas coexisting in Golden Rock Temple, and these bodhisattvas were all transferred and imparted their lifetime skills through the enlightenment method when the previous old Rulai passed away. Each of them had their own strengths and were incomparably powerful. However, this bodhisattva with Buddhist nature would probably be the best and become the next Rulai. Son of Buddha with Buddha nature, please have another cup. Thinking of this, his expression became more respectful, and his already low waist could not help but bend even lower. He held the teapot with both hands and poured more water for Son of Buddha, his face full of flattery. Emperor Mo Luo was not being polite. What he said was the truth. For these top experts who are famous in West Earth, Yunnan country, and even the entire North region is really a remote place. Moya thought sadly in his heart. In the other 3 major realms, there were unparalleled sects with thousands of years of history, immortal sacred grounds, and many veteran gold core experts who had lived for thousands of years. There were even nascent soul old monsters who were not far away from the legendary nascent soul heavenly lords. However, although Changxing sect had a history of thousands of years, its real rise was only 300 or 400 years ago. 300 or 400 years of history was extremely long for ordinary people, but for gold core experts who had lived for thousands of years, it was just a small part of their lives. Changxing sect's foundation was too weak. It only had a dozen or so gold core experts and no nascent soul old monsters. It was still incomparable to Fire Worship sect, Tingyu Tower, and Hehuan sect. Compared to Golden Rock Temple, the difference was like heaven and earth. Son of Buddha smiled but did not say anything. Behind him, an old arhat put his palms together and said, "Benefactor, I heard that a peerless expert, immortal Master Xing Tu, suddenly rose in Maolin city of Yunnan country. He defeated Ming Rui and is about to hold a perfected immortal ceremony." It is true. Emperor Mo Luo's eyes were calm, but he sighed inwardly. He had indeed come for the new sect master of Changxing sect, Xing Tuesday. Perhaps there would be great waves in the world. Chapter 1156. This star butcher has an unusual background. He's Kang Te-chu, the sect leader of Tianqing school on earth. He's from the Yan Huang tribe. The Buddha nature arhat said with a half-smile. I didn't know that. The Mara emperor pretended to be shocked and then smiled. He's just an ant on earth. He's nothing to worry about. If he sees the Arhat and Tathagata, he'll definitely become the most devout believer of the Golden Rock Temple. No. I'm going to kill him. The Arhat said with a smile. Why? Even Moyo was surprised. He didn't understand. The Golden Rock Temple had always promoted equality. They didn't like killing and punished the evil. Why would the Buddha nature Arhat want to kill Kang Taechu so much? The Tathagata of the Golden Rock Temple had even persuaded Ming Rui to abolish the 3 laws of longevity and stop the blood-bathing ceremony. Now, Kang Taechu had become the leader of the Changshan sect and abolished the 3 laws of longevity and the blood-bathing ceremony. Wasn't that what the Golden Rock Temple wanted to see? Of course I don't want to kill. The Buddha nature Arhat put his hands together and said with a merciful face. However, this kid has a deep enmity towards the dimensional world. Because he thinks we're hostile to Earth. It's just the Changshan sect's idea to invade Earth. Not to mention the Arhat and the leaders of the large sects, even I am just a golden core cultivator. Why would I take Earth seriously? The Mola Emperor shook his head and said. But will he believe us? The Buddha nature Arhat chuckled. Mara was stunned. Moyo was also deep in thought. He can't tell if we're friendly or hostile to him. The Buddha nature Arhat said calmly. Even if we're friendly, will he believe us? He can't tell. We'll think he's friendly or hostile. Even if he's friendly, will he think that we already know he's friendly? No one can be sure. Now that we've exposed each other, we have to strike first. And according to my investigation, this kid has always been the first to strike. Within the Earth civilization, he is like this to his own kind, let alone us. Is there any possibility of negotiating with Kang Taechu? The Moro Emperor asked after a moment of surprise. Even if he doesn't do anything, what about the humans on Earth? The Buddha nature Bodhisattva's gaze was focused and he didn't say much. Earthlings are nothing but ants. The Mara Emperor shook his head. There was no arrogance or disdain on his face. Instead, he was calmly stating a fact. Yes, they are like ants, and you and I are like goshawks. The Buddha nature Arhat smiled bitterly and sighed. Originally, they were 2 groups that had absolutely no intersection. The ants were content with a piece of leaf and were satisfied with the grains of rice. They would not raise their heads. They would not envy the goshawk soaring in the blue sky and the white clouds. They would envy him for eating white rabbits. As for the goshawk, it will never look at an ant in its entire life because the ant isn't even worthy to be its food. But now, something strange has happened. An ant actually soared into the sky with the light, biting a goshawk to death. Don't you think this ant is very strange? It is very strange. Mara's heart skipped a beat. The Buddha nature Arhat seemed to have thought of something. A calm and benevolent smile appeared on his face. He sighed and said, when the Buddha preached, I once saw an ant bathing in the Buddha's light and flying. They will eventually fall. Mara said with certainty. Yes. I also heard that Wugong, outside Maolin City used to be a small centipede 1,000 years ago. She had heard of the Buddha preaching sutra and Ming Rui Dao. 300 years ago, she turned into a human and killed chi refinement and foundation establishment cultivators like cutting grass. The Buddha nature Arhat smiled. As far as I know, many inheritances on earth have been cut off. It's not easy to ascend. The Mara Emperor became more and more uneasy, but he still insisted. It's not cut off. In other words, Kang Taechu will form a new inheritance. The Buddha nature Arhat shook his head and said with a smile, as you said, the inheritance has been cut off. I even saw an ant once. When this little monk was 5 years old, termites were born in the imperial palace. The workers in the imperial palace dug trenches around the termites' nests and poured a lot of black oil from the scorched desert into the trenches to ignite them. Do you know how those ants broke out of the encirclement? They broke out of the encirclement. That's impossible. How? The Mara Emperor's face was full of surprise. After the ants reached the trenches, they stacked on top of each other and formed an ant dam. The ant dam continued to rise until it reached a height of more than a meter, forming a black wall outside the trenches. Then, the ant dam began to move toward the trenches. Its surface wriggled in the light of the fire, like a black python. The Buddha Nature Arhat said in a daze. In the roasting of the fire, smoke popped up from the surface of the ant dam, and the air was filled with a pungent burnt smell. The ants that were burnt on the surface of the ant dam kept rolling down and falling into the fire ditch. A circle of strange green fire was formed on the edge of the fire ditch, and the surface of the ant dam was replaced by a new layer of ants. The entire ant dam was still standing firmly on the edge of the fire ditch. They wanted to erect a high wall and use the potential energy to make the ant balls roll down. Although ants were constantly burned to death in the process, a large number of ants still climbed to the top from the other side of the ant dam and gathered into large black ant balls. Each ant ball contained millions of ants. These black balls rolled down from the top of the ant dam. Some of them were swallowed by the fire, but most of them rolled across the trenches and reached the other side of the trenches. In the process of passing through the fire, the outer layer of the ant balls was scorched, but the countless ants still clung to each other, forming a layer of scorched shell outside the ant balls to protect the ants inside. When they rolled onto the ant balls on the other side of the trenches, the outer layer of scorched shell quickly cracked and the balls dissolved into the ants. They escaped. The Buddha Nature Arhat closed his eyes as if he was recalling the scene. His eyelids twitched slightly and his face was a little frightened. He said in a trembling voice, "From then on, I didn't dare to look down on ants anymore. Ants are good at climbing and building the foundation for their companions. They are not afraid of sacrifice. If they pile up one by one, as long as there are enough of them, they will definitely pile up into a pile of ants that can touch the sky. They will devour the goshawks. Especially when they think that the goshawks will eat them as food and can't survive. This speed will be greatly accelerated. Even the ants will evolve into a species that is even more terrifying than the goshawks. Just like Kang Tae Chu." In the silence. Outside the palace, deep in the dusk clouds, a goshawk's cry suddenly came, full of fear and uneasiness. It seemed to have heard the Arhat's words and heard the big ant pile that reached the sky. It seemed to be terrified. So, Kang Tae Chu must die. The Buddha Nature Arhat opened his eyes. His body was surrounded by a golden Buddhist aura and lightning. His eyes were full of fierce thunder, like the eyes of a Vajra before slaying demons. However, although Kang Tae Chu's cultivation is not high, he seems to have the combat power of a perfected golden core cultivator. Even the Changshan sect master, Ming Rui, was killed by him. The Mara Emperor warned, "Arhat, you must be careful. Don't worry." The Buddha Nature Arhat said calmly. In the end, Kang Tae Chu is still a small fry. Don't think that he is something just because he killed the Changshan sect master, Ming Rui. The blood-body exchanging art is actually a fiend art. It has a strong fiend will. If you practice it to the end, you will be devoured by it. Ming Rui is only a third-rate sect master among the peerless sections. She is not even comparable to the Zongzi Path Chosen. In terms of real strength, she is only in the top 20 of the perfected golden core cultivator level. She is only in the top 5 of the perfected immortal role of West Earth. She has been challenging people everywhere. Everyone wants to live in peace and respect for her. 3 years ago, she challenged me recklessly. I defeated her with one finger. She went into seclusion for a few years to recover her broken body. She did not dare to show up. If I want to kill her, she won't be able to live. I did not kill her because I don't want trouble. I also did not want to let her live. Without the evil Changshan sect, how can we show the mercy of the Buddhists? If they don't kill, how can we release the souls of the dead and build merit? Hearing this, Moya's heart almost jumped out of his throat. He looked at the Buddha Nature Arhat in horror. He had defeated Ming Rui with one finger and injured her so badly that she had to go into seclusion for a few years. The Buddha Nature Arhat was so powerful that it was unbelievable. Moreover, he was only a Buddha Nature Arhat. If he was so powerful, How powerful would the Buddha be? However, a goshawk uses its full strength to catch a rabbit. Besides, this Kong Te Chu is no small fry. This time, I will join forces with the fire worship sect, Tingyu Floor, many experts, and many cities in the three realms to kill him. The Buddha nature Arhat sipped his tea and said calmly. This is strategic disdain, tactical disdain. I believe that His Highness Arhat will be able to win in a single move. The Mara Emperor said respectfully. You can't stay out of this. The Buddha nature Arhat smiled faintly. If Kong Te Chu establishes himself in West Earth, besides taking down the Changshan sect, he will also control the mortal world. You will definitely have to give up the position of Emperor of the Cloud Mist Kingdom. Why? I have no quarrel with him. The Mara Emperor did not understand. You had a part in the massacre of the Yan Huang tribe. Especially after Kong Te Chu rescued the Yan Huang tribe, you still attacked Maolin City. With Kong Te Chu's might as the overlord of the three realms, will he spare you? The Buddha nature Arhat smiled. Right now, Maolin City has become the gathering place of the Yan Huang tribe. I heard that Kong Te Chu's coronation will be held in Maolin City as well. This is a very important signal. The Mara Emperor's face changed. Chapter 1157. Jiang Tian had risen from Maolin City, and Mao Bohu had been his staunchest supporter. Now that Jiang Tian had become the longevity sect leader, the ascension ceremony would not be held in the longevity sect, but in Maolin City. This showed how much he valued Mao Bohu. And Mo Luo had once hunted down the Yan Huang tribe and attacked Maolin City. Jiang Tian was a vengeful man, and naturally wanted to get rid of the Mo Luo royal family. And in Jiang Tian's eyes, Mao Bohu was probably the best choice. With everything ready, how could Jiang Tian not act? Saving a life is more meritorious than building a 7-storied pagoda. I beseech the Buddha nature Arhat to lend a helping hand and save the Mo family. Thinking thus, the Mo Luo Emperor's forehead broke out in sweat, and his fear reached an unprecedented level. Sincere words. A Jindan expert, the sect leader of a major sect, was high and mighty, like a god or an immortal. He viewed human lives as ants. Offending him would not be as simple as annihilation. That was a light punishment. Before, the previous king of Skylight had offended the longevity sect leader, Ming Rui, and Ming Rui had killed 1 million people and turned the country upside down. And Jiang Tian was not just a peerless sect leader. He was the ultimate ruler of Earth, stellar sky, and celestial border. Such an expert could wipe out a country and wipe out a city. He would wipe the Cloud Mist Kingdom off the face of the continent. When the time comes, you can just follow the army and join the battle. Besides, we will also invade Maolin City. The Buddha nature Arhat nodded. That's no problem. But little Emperor, I have a presumptuous request. After hearing this, the Mo Luo Emperor agreed readily, and then begged humbly. Speak freely. The Arhat smiled warmly. This junior beseeches your highness to take my useless son, Prince Mo Yang, as your disciple. The Mo Luo Emperor knelt on the ground, his forehead pressed against his hands, unusually pious. Prince Mo Yang was of the same generation as the Arhat. But the Arhat was already at the great circle of Jindan, and had mastered the body's will mystique. His dharma was vast, and his cultivation deep, far surpassed his peers. Furthermore, the Bodhisattva had the potential to become the new Tathagata. At that time, Mo Yang would be one of the new generation of Bodhisattvas, which was equivalent to the personal disciple of the new Buddha of Golden Rock Temple. This was a great blessing and endless glory. Good. The Mo Luo Emperor was so moved that tears streamed down his face as he kowtowed incessantly. I'll take my leave first. After discussing some more details, the Arhat smiled. Then, his body, which was covered in golden light, crumbled like a pile of golden sand, turning into wisps of light and disappearing from the hall. Beside him, the old monk also left on a cloud. That mountain-like pressure also disappeared, allowing Mo Ye to finally heave a long sigh of relief. Only the Mara Emperor was left, still sitting there, drinking tea with a complicated expression. At this time, Mo Yang walked in drunkenly from the outside and said excitedly, "This time, Kang Tae-chu is done for." When he learned of Jiang Tian's valiant battle record, his courageous spirit was completely shattered. When someone was stronger than you, but you thought you could still catch up, you would be jealous, and this kind of jealousy would even give you a great motivation. But when someone was so strong that you could never catch up, only despair and decadence would be left in your heart. You would only hope that this person would be destroyed, no matter who destroyed him. Mo Yang, in order to let you win the favor of the Arhat, I bet the fate of the entire royal family. The Emperor of Mara country said earnestly. I'll work hard to cultivate. Mo Yang secretly gritted his teeth and took a swig of wine. At this time, Princess Yujiao walked in quickly and bowed respectfully. Yujiao has returned from the Mao family of Maolin City. Greetings, father. How was it? The Emperor of Mara country asked with a trace of affection on his face. I sincerely apologize and present a gift according to father's order to get closer to the father and daughter of the Mao family. Princess Yujiao said with a joyful face. Mao Hongdai asked the Taichu sect master about this. The Taichu sect master's original words were, that was then, and this is now. Back then, we had no choice but to serve Ming Rui. Hence, let bygones be bygones. As long as we remain loyal and diligent in our work, the position of Emperor of the Cloud Mist country will forever belong to our Mo family. Ha! The Emperor of Mara country sneered. This is very likely a stalling tactic. Not only is this kid powerful and talented, but he is also very shrewd and cunning. Princess Yujiao's expression changed drastically. Father, why are you laughing like that? I just met the Arhat. The Emperor of Mara country was smug as he briefly explained the situation. What? Princess Yujiao immediately panicked. That Kang Tae-chu is too powerful. We can't mess with him. He's a peerless expert who can easily kill Ming Rui. Ha, Kang Tae-chu is indeed a genius. He can kill a late-stage golden core cultivator with his foundation establishment cultivation. He is a peerless genius. The Emperor of Mara country sneered. But it's different if the Arhat makes a move on him. The Arhat's Buddha nature can destroy the world with one word. The Arhat is representing the Golden Rock Temple this time. He has joined forces with the Fire Worship Sect, Tingyu Tower, and the Hahuan Sect, some medium-sized sects, such as the Sword Palace and the Demon Rock Temple. There are also many countries other than the northern region. With an army of millions of cultivators, even 100 Kang Tae-chu will be crushed to dust. Princess Yujiao's heart skipped a beat when she heard this. Not to mention the Fire Worship Sect, Tingyu Tower, Hahuan Sect, and the cultivator armies of many countries, the Changshan Sect alone could not catch up with the Golden Rock Temple. Their strength and foundation were too weak. However, her intuition told her that Jiang Tian was very dangerous and should not be messed with. So, she said earnestly. Father, this is a battle between the major sections. We are just a mortal country. Why should we get involved? We don't want to be implicated. Fortune comes from danger. The Maro Luo Emperor showed his ambitious side and said with a determined face. If we curry favor with the Arhat and the Golden Rock Temple, the Maro family will be able to stand for hundreds or thousands of years. We can even become the master of the northern region and replace the Changshan sect. The entire West Earth was surging and soldiers were gathering for Jiang Tian to defeat Ming Rui and become the sect master of the Changshan sect. Jiang Tian had reached the end of his seclusion. At this time, Jiang Tian was sitting in the depths of the treasure trove palace. His face was full of pain, and he groaned from time to time. Gengjin, swirling green wood, green dragon mystic water, vermilion bird true fire, and Yinglong thick earth. These 5 golden core embryos condense the essence of Jiang Tian's 5 innate divine bodies of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Behind each fake core, there was a secret art that could shake the universe. It represented the strongest divine body in the endless universe. These fake cores were all divine-grade fake cores. A fake core was just a rough embryo of a golden core. However, a divine-grade fake core could kill a superior-grade golden core cultivator or even a nascent soul overlord. That was the power of a divine body. At the moment, Jiang Tian had 5 divine-grade fake cores. Even if there were a dozen golden core overlords, Jiang Tian wouldn't feel any pressure at all. When Jiang Tian combined the wind, thunder, ice, and darkness divine bodies with the fake cores, he would have the chaotic divine body and the most powerful divine-grade golden core. His strength could be summed up in a word. He could kill a nascent soul overlord. At the same time, Jiang Tian used his art of deception. Many grand Dao chains with giant and heavy god-suppressing locks flew across the sky like dragons. One end of the chains was inserted into the endless void and the other was rooted in the thick earth. They tightly bound the 5 divine bodies and compressed the golden cores to the extreme. In the end, the energy of the fake core was suppressed to the 5th level of the foundation establishment level. Then, with the help of the sky-stealing sun-swapping divine art, Jiang Tian's energy was very ordinary, like an ordinary young man without any cultivation. The god-suppressing locks and the grand Dao chains could be used to hide from the heavenly tribulations and the overlords of the ruins of deity. In addition, it also left enough space for Jiang Tian to condense the other 4 types of divine bodies and their fake cores to perform their punches and kicks. At the same time, it would also make the 5 divine bodies more condensed and powerful. The cauldron of the chaos source is so extraordinary. It has already merged with the dantian of the flying winged dragon. They are all divine bodies, but the power of the flying winged dragon is much stronger than the other divine bodies. Jiang Tian's divine sense probed the yellow dragon that was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. The corner of his mouth involuntarily revealed a trace of a smile. Wealth, companions, arts, land, providence, and the 5 elements of cultivation, but heavenly materials and earthly treasures were always the most important. The cauldron of the chaos source was called a divine material, so the divine body it formed was much more powerful than the other divine bodies. It could even tear apart a golden core cultivator and fight against a nascent soul cultivator. But Jiang Tian wasn't done yet. A man's wealth is his own ruin. The cauldron of the chaos source is a heavenly material, a divine material, but it can't be used easily. However, the galaxy crystal sand is more suitable for use, so it won't be too shocking. Jiang Tian's mind moved and he refined the galaxy crystal sand into his dantian one by one and into the body of the earth-winged dragon. This was also a painstaking effort. Even though Jiang Tian's cultivation had increased greatly and many of his divine bodies had formed fake cores, it still took Jiang Tian a week's effort. But if it was before, Jiang Tian would probably have to spend a year's effort. Whoosh! Finally, after doing all this, Jiang Tian revealed a look of joy. He took a deep breath, walked up the stairs to the 1st floor of the treasure hall, and opened the door. Outside, the sun was shining brightly. This time, Jiang Tian spent more than a month in seclusion. Master, your seclusion is over. Outside the door, Tang Linglong jumped up happily. Yi Karen, Lady Wu, and Li Wuji also looked over in shock. Kang Teichu's seclusion this time caused quite a commotion, but it seems that his cultivation didn't increase by much. Li Wuji was surprised. But he didn't know that Jiang Tian had already used the thick earth divine chains to forcefully suppress his aura. If it completely erupted, he would probably be so shocked that he would pee his pants. In the past few days, they had been guarding Jiang Tian here. Although it was said that they were guarding Jiang Tian, in fact, they had received a lot of nourishment from Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian had to release the aura of the 4 divine bodies when refining the chaos source and galaxy crystal sand. These auras were far more powerful than the aura of the deity world and were a great blessing for anyone. Tang Linglong's mid-stage foundation establishment cultivation was also more stable. Li Wuji, Yi Karen, and Lady Wu also had their own breakthroughs. Jiang Tian nodded. His eyes were like lightning as he said leisurely. After the sect leader ascension ceremony in Maolin City, we should return to Earth. I miss my Qing'er and the baby very much. This matter has been prepared according to your wishes. We can set off immediately. Mao Hongdai stepped forward and said softly. At this time, the Grand Elder's white beard was struggling. In the end, he gritted his teeth, stepped forward, and bowed. Sect leader, in a day's time, the Golden Rock Temple will hold an open ceremony that will last for 10 days. According to the previous rules, you must attend. Should your sect leader ascension ceremony be postponed for a few days? Chapter 1158. Golden Rock Temple was undoubtedly the oldest and most powerful orthodoxy and force in Westland. Compared to it, Changxing sect was like a weak young man facing an iron tower. They were no match at all. Golden Rock Temple's Tathagata had always attached great importance to the Unchained Festival. Previously, even Ming Rui dared not to attend. If he did not attend, he would be disrespecting Golden Rock Temple. Now that Jiang Tian's foundation was unstable, how could he bear the power of Golden Rock Temple? Unchained Festival. Jiang Tian was astonished. It's also called the Unchained Festival. It's a festival for all the Buddhist sects in Westland led by Golden Rock Temple. It's held once every 5 years in Golden Rock Temple. Mao Hongdai explained to Jiang Tian, and Jiang Tian understood. It was a charity festival held once every 5 years by Golden Rock Temple of Thunder Sound Mountain. Unchained Festival meant that the nobles and the commoners of Taoism would all be unchained. During the festival, Golden Rock Temple would donate all its treasures to various cultivation sections. Eminent monks would wear Taoist robes and sit in small carriages. Tathagata would personally promote the Nirvana Sutra to everyone. The abbot would set up a Taoist temple for millions of people. But the Unchained Festival was not only about charity, but also about punishing evildoers, suppressing tyrants, and practicing the concept of equality. Westland was a firm believer in Buddhism. In the top orthodoxies of the Four Realms, whether it was Tingyu Tower, Sect of Flame, or Hahuan Sect, any new sect master would be conferred a title by Tathagata. Generally speaking, every sect master was Tathagata's disciple. Those medium-sized orthodoxies also needed Golden Rock Temple's permission to change their sect masters. Usually, 1 or 2 eminent monks would show up as representatives. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the right to do so. Even in the doctrine of Changxing sect, many of the ideas of reincarnation and afterlife had the shadow of Buddhism. Although Mao Hongdai had matured a lot during her time with Jiang Tian, she was still afraid of Golden Rock Temple. In her words, she also hoped that Jiang Tian would attend the Unchained Festival first before holding the sect master ascension ceremony. Jiang Tian laughed and said, "I don't believe it. I won't go. Nothing is more important than meeting Tathagata and conferred a title than going home to see my wife." The Supreme Elder had a white beard and an ugly expression on his face. He was extremely worried, but he did not dare to say anything else. When Jiang Tian left the Changshan sect and arrived at Maolin City, the sect master's ascension ceremony is a grand ceremony for the entire Changshan sect, the 4 kingdoms in the north, and thousands of cities to celebrate the new sect master's victory and ascension. When the Taichu sect master ascended to the top, he invited heroes from all over to announce to the world the might of the new sect master. City Lord Mao Bohu greeted him from afar, his face beaming with joy. "Greetings, true immortal grand primordium. The Taichu sect master has blessed all living beings. He is the savior of the Yan Huang ancient tribe." Throughout the city, hundreds of thousands of Yan Huang tribe members prostrated themselves in worship with tears in their eyes. They were very devout, and their prayers soared into the sky as though they were seeing a god. "The Yan Huang tribe has produced a dragon. Our Yan Huang tribe can finally stand up." Beside Mao Bohu, there were a few elders from the Yan Huang tribe who had accompanied him to welcome him. All of them were trembling with emotion, tears streaming down their cheeks. In Maolin City, in front of the City Hall Square, there was a tall bronze statue. This bronze statue was 100 zhang tall, and could be seen from all over the city. It was dressed in a Taoist robe, and held a sword in one hand and a scroll in the other. It was dashing, and its gaze was authoritative. The heart of the zither, the courage of the sword, and the heroic spirit of the heart of a woman. On the pedestal, there was a couplet. Master, this is your bronze statue. So handsome. Io, is the one next to it mine? But a little fierce. Tang Linglong covered her mouth and exclaimed, her little face red with excitement. After all, she was still young, and did not have much experience. It was her first time being molded into a bronze statue. It was indeed Tang Linglong's bronze statue. Long robes billowed, and it was dozens of meters tall. 24 flaming flying swords stabbed into 3 opponents. They should be Lauder, the beast python, and Feng Ao, but they were all very ugly. Other than that, there were bronze statues of Lady Wu with dual blades, Yi Karen with a sword, and Li Wuji, who was a size smaller than Tang Linglong. But Li Wuji held a horsetail whisk and did not fight or kill. He did not have any heroic spirit, and looked like a bystander. Li Wuji's face was filled with embarrassment. Maolin City had now become the gathering place of the entire Yanhuang tribe. It turned out that they were trampled on like pigs and dogs, hunted down, and almost exterminated. They did not even have the right to be food, and were the even more lowly Huanggu. And now, at least in Maolin City, in the various cities of the northern border countries, no one dared to look down on them, and they even had to treat them with respect. 300,000 Yanhuang tribe members had spontaneously built bronze statues of the master and disciple, without sleep or rest for dozens of days and nights. This was to thank them for their kindness, and to commemorate their heroic deeds. Sai, the leader of a great sect. He has such strength. No wonder he looked down on my aunt. In the crowd, Fan Xiuzhu looked at Jiang Tian with admiration. Although Jiang Tian was only at the Foundation establishment realm, he had the battle strength of a Jindan Great Circle cultivator. He had made a name for himself at the blood-bathing ceremony, killed Ming Rui, and became the leader of the longevity sect. Not to mention the longevity sect, which was one of the top orthodoxies, even the beast-controlling sect and Sword Palace, which were second or third-tier orthodoxies, were important. Now, not just Maolin City, but the entire northern border was celebrating Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian did not need to do anything. He just needed to sit there and be worshipped, and everyone would treat him as the supreme being. Who would have thought that he would become the leader of the longevity sect? Mao Bilian, Luo Qi, and the other young ladies of Maolin City were very excited. They had become the backbone of this ceremony, and were busy. Although they could not make friends with Jiang Tian now, as long as they could serve Jiang Tian, it would be their honor. The ceremony began quickly. More and more people arrived. This time, it was much grander than Fairy Luo Mei's ceremony. Maolin City was crowded with millions of overlords. In the sky, flying Dharma artifacts such as cloud towers and flying ships covered the sun. Countless rays of light crossed the sky like rainbows. There were more than a dozen main streets that were more than 20 miles long from the plaza to all directions. There were banquets, delicious wine, and wine. On this day, Foundation establishment cultivators, who were rarely seen on normal days, were simply innumerable. It could be said that the number of powerhouses was like the rain, and the number of crowns was as high as the clouds. There were even quite a few golden core powerhouses present. Prince Mu Yang of Tianlang congratulates the Taichu sect leader on behalf of our parents. Emperor Xianbing of Extreme Ice Country and Prince Jihan congratulate the Taichu sect leader on his cultivation and longevity. City Lord of Windblade City of Yunlan congratulates the Taichu sect leader on his success and becoming an imperishable orthodoxy. Prince Mo Yang and Princess Yujiao congratulate the Taichu sect leader. Sect leader of the Beast Control sect requests an audience with the Taichu sect leader. It was not just the city lords and sect leaders of the Yunlan country who had come. Almost all of the major cities, sects, and even royalty from the 4 major countries of the northern region had come to congratulate him. So many people. Luo Qi was shocked and murmured, even Prince Jihan is here. He's my idol, and he was so polite to me when I received him. He even smiled at me. The Taichu sect leader is at the peak of the Jindan realm. He's on par with the giants of the world. And he's not even 30 years old. In the future, he'll dominate the northern region for hundreds of years. He might even surpass the sect leaders of the other 4 major orthodoxies. Mao Bilian said proudly. The Taichu sect leader rose from Maolin City, and Maolin City has become an important gathering place for the Yan Huang tribe. Prince Jihan should have heard that you and I know the Taichu sect leader. How would he dare to slight us? But deep down, he was still a little disappointed. His sister, for example, was now the personal disciple of the Taichu sect leader. Her status was even more terrifying. Even Princess Yu Jiao had to bow to her respectfully when she saw her. This time, the experts had gathered, and it was an eye-opener for everyone. Especially the Yunlan country, the Beast Control sect, and Prince Jihan. They had been enemies with Jiang Tian, but now they were trembling in fear, their faces ashen. They were afraid that Jiang Tian would wipe them out, and so they went to Mao Bohu to express their loyalty again and again. When the majestic horn sounded, the drums were beaten 3 times. Amidst the silence and solemnity, Jiang Tiankai flew to the high platform built above the square, accepting everyone's kowtows and congratulations. At this time, Jiang Tian had black hair and black eyes. He was dressed in white robes, and his handsome features made him look like a god. Next to him were 2 pretty girls. They were Tang Linglong and Jiang Tian's new disciple, Mao Hongdai. He's only 30 years old, but he's already a golden core cultivator and wants to become the sect master of the Changshan sect. He's so talented. A few hundred years later, he might enter the soul formation level and become a grand cultivator, surpassing this world. Emperor Xianbing of the extreme ice country was shocked and his face was full of admiration. He used to think that his son, Prince Jihan, was a peerless genius, but compared to Jiang Tian, he felt that he wasn't even worthy of carrying Jiang Tian's shoes. Not even a nascent soul heavenly lord, let alone a soul formation grand cultivator. Prince Mu Yang of Tianlang shook his head and heaved a sigh. There hasn't been a nascent soul cultivator in West Earth for 10,000 years. It is said that the Lotus Heart Tathagata 3,000 years ago, with his unparalleled talent and boundless dharma, he condensed a 6th-grade golden core Sarira and successfully formed his nascent soul. However, in the end, at the ripe old age of 900, he passed away in meditation. Everyone nodded with a complicated look in their eyes. A golden core cultivator could live for 1,000 years under ideal conditions. But a nascent soul cultivator was different. They could live as long as the sky and could control the world. That was why they were called heavenly lords. Many golden core perfected immortals who died of old age speculated that West Earth was limited by the thin spirit chi. It was impossible to reach the nascent soul level. And yet, Jiang Tian had a chance to become a nascent soul cultivator. However, in the crowd, looking at Jiang Tian, who was sitting on the stage and being worshipped by thousands of people, even though Prince Mo Yang looked respectful, there was a glint of coldness and disdain in his eyes. Kang Te-chu, the Bodhisattva is about to attack you. How long can you be proud of yourself? In front of the Buddha, in front of the army of 1,000,000 cultivators, you, Jiang Taichu, are just an ant-like existence, a clown. Just wait for your death. He sneered in his mind, as if Jiang Tian was already a dead man. Prince Mu Yang of Tianlang is quite good at acting. They had come to congratulate Jiang Tian in person to make him let down his guard. In fact, Tianlang had already surrendered without a fight. Just like the Yunlan state, they had gathered an army of 100,000 cultivators and were marching toward Maolin City. On the other hand, Prince Mo Yang had also brought the Bodhisattva's senior brother and 3 golden core cultivators from the House of Extraordinary Warriors as spies. They were only waiting for the battle to break out so that they could capture Tang Linglong, Mao Hongdai, and the other people around Jiang Tian as hostages. By then, Jiang Tian would have no choice but to admit defeat and become a prisoner. Chapter 1159. The sect master ascension ceremony was still going on for a day and a night. There were too many people participating and the ceremony was extremely complicated. It was time to present the gifts. The emperors and princes of the large nations led the sect leaders and the family leaders of the cultivation families onto the stage. They kowtowed to Jiang Tianqing 3 times and 9 times and presented congratulatory gifts. The Ice Pole country congratulates the sect master of the Taichu sect on his ascension. We hope that your power will last forever and you will live for 10,000 years. We present 10 Dinghai pearls, 1,000 kilograms of dark ice jade, snow lotus. The black-scale demons of the Beiyu Island of the Ice Pole country present, the Xian Tian sect of the Ice Pole country congratulates, while the various sects, clans, and city lords of the Ice Pole nation were congratulating Jiang Tian and presenting gifts to him. A loud voice suddenly came from the sky. Sword Saint Wang Xianchao, the palace master of the Sword Palace in the south, is here to visit the sect master of the Taichu sect. The voice was sharp like a peerless heavenly sword. It seemed to be able to destroy the earth and destroy the giant cities. The entire Maolin city trembled. Everyone's mind was in chaos, and their faces were filled with panic. Wang Xianchao. A sword saint. It was said that he had entered the Tao with the sword and had formed a 6th-grade golden core 300 years ago. His golden core was like a sword and was extremely sharp. In the past few years, he had defeated more than a dozen large sects and families in the south. He had even destroyed 3 giant cities and many orthodoxies. Finally, the Sword Palace became famous. He was fierce and his hands were stained with blood. In the south, the Sword Palace he founded had become one of the top 5 orthodoxies. Even the Tingyu Tower didn't dare to underestimate him. Mao Bohu's face changed and he complained. He had heard that Jiang Tian and his disciple Tang Linglong had killed the elder of the Sword Palace, Fairy Lan Dai. He was probably here to fight. Some of the stronger cultivators even saw the sword chi formed by the sound waves coming at them from all directions. The array patterns on the city wall were activated and shone brightly, but they were no match for it. The sound wave swords cut open a 100-meter gap. The sword chi was like a rainbow and the sun, pressing down on the blue sky. It was so dense that it covered the sky and the sun. It poured down on the square and was directly aimed at Jiang Tian. That sound wave can kill Foundation establishment cultivators. Many people exclaimed. Many sect masters, city lords and members of the royal family were scared out of their wits. This was a peerless ferocious person whose ferocious name had already spread throughout the entire West Earth. He had the power to massacre cities and destroy countries. Even the monarch of a country would tremble with fear when he saw him, like a mouse that had seen a cat. Wang Xian Grass was indeed domineering and sharp. He seemed to be introducing himself, but in fact, he was attacking first. He wanted to gain the upper hand by a show of strength and give Jiang Tian a show of strength. Master. Mao Hongdia's face changed drastically. She squeezed Jiang Tian's big hand tightly. Her palm was covered in cold sweat. Your Excellency's voice is really loud. Jiang Tian's eyes flashed with a trace of mockery. He smiled indifferently and shook his sleeves lightly, as if he didn't see the sound wave sword rain at all. Suddenly, an invisible air wave swept up like a raging sea and collided with the sound wave sword rain. Boom, 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 the sound wave sword rain instantly collapsed, exploding in the air. When the smoke dissipated, the crowd saw many experts stepping on rainbows, passing through the crack in the city protection array and landing on the square. Wang Xian Grass looked to be in his 30s. He wore a blood-red robe and carried a blood-red longsword on his back. His entire person was like a blood-red peerless heavenly sword that was bloodthirsty and cold. However, in the crowd, the powerful Wang Xian Grass was only third. There were 2 other experts in front of him. The one in front was a red-haired man in a fiery red robe. This man was tall and strong, and he was filled with a violent aura. There were red patterns in the shape of flames on his face. His eyes were wide open, and occasionally, flames would flicker. On his chest, there was an eye-catching flame embroidery in the shape of a red lotus. It looked like a real flame. Wang Xian Grass is the palace lord of the Sword Palace. He is known as the Peerless Sword God. Who can be above him? Many low-level cultivators were shocked and puzzled. It's the fire worship sect's disciple, Fire Beacon Master. However, some people had recognized him and were uneasy. The extreme frost crown prince even whispered while trembling. What? Fire worship sect's disciple. Fire Beacon Master. Countless people present were horrified and moved. The fire worship sect was the #1 orthodoxy in the western region. Its power shook the entire scorching desert and it was ranked second in the vast western earth. It was only second to the Golden Rock Temple and was superior to the Longevity sect. The fire worship sect's disciples cultivated the red lotus earthly fire. It was said that a single fire could burn down a city with endless power. A disciple was even more incredible. To become a disciple, one had to go through many tests. From an inner disciple to an elite disciple, then to a direct disciple, their talents and knowledge were 1 in a million. Moreover, they had to be an elder for around 10 years to train their management skills and contribute to the sect. Only then could they become a disciple. They were the elites of the elites and would inherit the sect master's position in the future. Rumor has it that Fire Beacon Master originally had a secular name, but one year, there was a natural disaster in the western region and they didn't worship the fire worship sect. In a fit of rage, he burned 10 cities to ashes, killed millions of people, and exterminated several members of the royal family. This scared the emperors of the western region so much that they hurriedly sold everything they had, including the treasures in the imperial palace, in order to pay 3 times the usual annual tribute. From then on, whenever he traveled the world, all the countries and cities would act as if they were facing a great enemy. They would ignite their fire beacons and send messages. Emperors would come from 100 miles away to greet him. They would kneel and kowtow 3 times and 9 times before calling him the Red Lotus Fire God. Because of this, he had the fierce name of Fire Beacon Master. Even the Crown Prince of Extreme Frost would have to run 100 miles away when he saw a godson with such a powerful cultivation base and a monstrous background. He was like a mouse that had seen a cat, not daring to fight him head-on. Behind Fire Beacon Master, there was a young cultivator with delicate features and an ethereal aura. He wore a blue robe. His aura was neither hot nor cold, but his aura was faintly on par with Fire Beacon Master. Everyone carefully looked and became startled. The young lord of the Tingyu Pavilion. Xiao Qinghe. This person was the direct disciple of the Tingyu Pavilion's lord, Xiao Lingyu. However, it was said that he condensed his golden core before the age of 100. Now, he should have the strength of a late-stage golden core cultivator. He rarely fought, making him even more mysterious and terrifying. In addition, there were experts like the abbot of the Devil Cliff Temple in the crowd. Each of them was at least a late-stage golden core cultivator. It could be said that a great army was pressing in. Together, they were far more powerful than the many elders and guest elders of the Longevity sect. Seeing this, Fairy Luo Mei was frightened and trembled all over. 2 of the 4 orthodoxies had come. The Hehuan sect and the Golden Rock Temple were probably not far away. Without the approval of the Golden Rock Temple, the Fire Worship sect and the Tingyu Pavilion would not dare to easily attack the Longevity sect. This time, how should Kang Teichu deal with it? Young Lord, Fire Beacon Master, Wang Zhenxian, and all of you have come to the ceremony. Our Longevity sect is really honored. The white-bearded great elder secretly complained, but he still greeted them with a cheerful face and said with a smile, "Please take a seat and enjoy a cup of wine." Get lost. Wang Xianchao of the Sword Palace directly attacked with a flick of his finger. Swoosh! A sword chi about 100 meters long burst out, with a faint rumble of thunder. It could cut a golden core cultivator and was aimed at the chest of the great elder. You! The white-bearded great elder was furious. He did not expect Wang Xianchao to suddenly attack. Fortunately, his strength wasn't weak. His arms were closed as if they were sealed, and he stirred up strong winds to barely block the sword chi. The sword chi was broken, but the white-bearded great elder still felt uncomfortable. His chest felt like it was about to split open. His face was pale and full of pain. He grunted and flew 100 meters away. His cultivation was not weak, but he was old and weak. Moreover, there were many drawbacks of practicing the blood-bathed body-exchanging mystic skill. His qi, blood, and physique were very impure. It was already very difficult for him to block Wang Xiancao's sword qi. Wang Xiancao, how dare you act so presumptuously at our sect leader's ascension ceremony? Do you think there is no one in Maolin City and the longevity sect? Mao Bohu stepped forward and shouted. If you want to have a drink, we welcome you. If you want to cause trouble, get out. Fan Xiuzhu was also angry. He walked out with a long silver spear. The sect leader's ascension ceremony was very solemn and grand. But they came to cause trouble, which was a slap in the face to Jiang Tian and Maolin City. They did not take the entire longevity sect seriously. This was an extreme provocation and disregard. The sect leader's ascension ceremony? Bullshit. Wang Xiancao's face was cold. He raised his hand and waved it. Suddenly, thousands of huge sword qi burst out from his palm. Mao Bohu and Fan Xiuzhu were immediately thrown out. They flew more than 200 meters before they landed on the ground. During this time, the white-bearded Great Elder formed a true core shield to protect the two. Otherwise, they would have been killed by the attack. Don't you go too far, the white-bearded Great Elder shouted. Kang Te Chu, the longevity sect has confused the believers. The 3 laws of longevity, killing your own sect members, blood competition, cannibalism, disregard of human relations, and endless evil. Now, it's time to end it. Wang Xiancao did not bother to talk to him. He looked at Jiang Tian with disdain and said, Now, for the people of the northern region, for the people of the world, for the vicissitudes of justice, we have formed the Demon Slayer army to suppress you. If you hand over the position of the sect leader and the territory of the 4 countries in the northern region, I will spare your life. Chapter 1160. Hearing that, Fairy Luo Mei and the other senior members of the Changshan sect looked cold. Wang Xianchao was despicable. That was right. Since Ming Rui's rise, the Changshan sect had been waging war everywhere, killing many countries and sections. Many people had died during the blood-bathing ceremony, the competition, and the consumption of blood. The problem was Wang Xianchao a kind and righteous person? He had killed hundreds of thousands of people in the southern region. The number of people he had killed alone was more than the number of people the Changshan sect had killed in the past. It could be said that everyone had the right to criticize the Changshan sect, but Wang Xianchao did not. Especially after Jiang Tian had become the sect master, the Changshan sect had abolished the 3 laws of Changshan, the blood-bathing mystic art, and the blood-bathing competition system. They had also proposed that cultivators should not bully people in the secular world and that cultivators should fight for ordinary people. That had completely changed the doctrine of the Changshan sect. Why did Wang Xianchao and the others not do anything to the Changshan sect after so many years? Why did they wait until Jiang Tian had become the sect master? They obviously thought that Jiang Tian was weak and easy to bully because he came from the lower region. They thought that the foundation of the Changshan sect was not stable and that it was the best time to destroy the Changshan sect and divide the northern region. How can you blame the Taichu sect master for the past? The white-bearded Grand Elder was so angry that he almost vomited blood, but he patiently explained. He said patiently, Palace Master Wang, you don't know that the Changshan sect has completely changed the doctrine under the Taichu sect master's insistence. We have stopped the blood-bathing mystic art and destroyed the blood-bathing mystic art. We don't kill, get lost. You old man, you don't have the right to talk to me. Wang Xiancao's attitude was arrogant and domineering as he bellowed. Hearing this, Supreme Elder Whitebeard, Fairy Luo Mei, and many other elders and hall masters were so angry that they almost fainted. The sect master's ascension ceremony was a big event for the sect. It was the most sacred and solemn moment in the past few hundred years. But Wang Xianchao was so arrogant. He roared and attacked again and again. He simply ignored everything. Yet, he still had no sense of shame. He waved the stick of morality and spoke of justice and righteousness for the common people of the world. He had completely forgotten that he, Wang Xianchao, had also stepped on piles of bones to reach his current position. Wang Xianchao clasped his hands behind his back and stared coldly at Jiang Tian. Kang Te-chu, you were originally an ant from Earth, but you actually came to West Earth without permission and killed people to seize power. Your crimes are too numerous to be recorded. The Bodhisattva has ordered you to surrender immediately and go to the Commandment Hall of Golden Rock Temple to receive your punishment. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone felt a chill in their hearts, and bean-sized beads of cold sweat emerged. Sure enough, they had the Arhat and Golden Rock Temple behind them. In this battle, Kang Te-chu was in danger. Even if Kang Te-chu had the battle prowess of the Great Fulfillment of Gold Core, so what? One had to know that the Great Circle of the Golden Core stage was divided into different levels. He was the Arhat. The Golden Rock Temple of Thunder Sound Mountain possessed the purest Buddhist divine skills, far surpassing the Dharma spells and divine skills of ordinary orthodoxies. With the Arhat's order, the entire West Earth would wage war against the Changxing sect. How could they bear this? Why should Golden Rock Temple punish my master? My master killed people who deserved to be killed. My master did it for the vicissitudes of the righteous path and for the world. Although Mao Hongdia's face was pale from fright, she still stood up straight and argued for Jiang Tian with tears in her eyes. Jiang Tian came here for the safety of Earth, but he also rewrote the history of the Changxing sect, turning a sinful sect into a righteous sect that protected the world and its people. He was a true hero. But now, in their mouths, Jiang Tian had become an unpardonable sinner who deserved to be cut into pieces. Who could tolerate such a reversal of black and white and such a big splash of dirty water? Little girl, do you have the right to speak here? If you dare to spout nonsense, I'll turn you into ashes. Fire Beacon Master took a step forward with raging flames around his body. Red lotus-like flames bloomed as if they could burn the sky. He then angrily glared at Jiang Tian and said in an irritable manner, Kang Te-chu, your crimes are unforgivable. Don't take any chances and don't make any unnecessary resistance. Quickly surrender and maybe the Arhat will be merciful and spare your life. Serious crimes? Jiang Tian picked up the teacup and took a sip before saying, truly, if you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. Which one of you hasn't stained your hands with blood? In terms of killing, how can I, Kang Te-chu, be more serious than all of you? Mao Hongdai only spoke a few words for me and you, Fire Beacon Master, wanted to turn her into ashes. Bullying the weak like this, are you still worthy of being called a godson? Your fire worship sect still dares to call itself a righteous sect. I have never seen such shameless people. Your skin is even thicker than the corner of Maolin City's city wall. The moment these words came out, Fire Beacon Master's face turned red. His 7 orifices were fuming and emitting sparks. His battle prowess was strong and his battle achievements were glorious. However, he had a bad temper and wasn't good with words. If he wasn't careful, he would reveal his true colors. In the crowd, countless people secretly nodded and thought that the Taichu sect master's words were sharp and hit the nail on the head. I originally thought that by taking down the longevity sect, I would be taking drastic measures to solve the problem of West Earth. I didn't expect that all of you would want to start a fire. Jiang Tian raised his eyebrows and looked at them seriously for the first time. He said with a sneer, I want to ask all of you one thing. What if I don't admit my crimes? Then I'll just have to personally step on you and bring you to the Arhat. Wang Xianchao sneered and said coldly. You want to capture me? Come and try. Jiang Tian's face was full of mockery. I know that you, Kang Te-chu, are strong and I might not be able to capture you. Wang Xianchao sneered and said eerily. However, when a golden core cultivator attacks, their mystiques will spread far and wide and destroy cities and countries. The Yan Huang tribe is gathered here. If I accidentally kill tens of thousands of people, then don't blame my sword chi for being blind. Fan Xiuzhu scolded, how shameless. How dare you threaten us with mortals with no cultivation? In the end, it's all about fighting. Jiang Tianzong let out a long laugh. Fine. Since all of you are here, then I will shatter your golden cores and go to the Golden Rock Temple to question that old man, Rolai, on how he gave up such a wicked disciple. When Jiang Tian said this, many people shook their heads secretly. Even Whitebeard's expression changed drastically. He wanted to say something but didn't. Kang Taechu could defeat Ming Rui, which meant that he was very strong. However, Shaoqinghe, Fire Beacon City, and many other sect leaders were all at the Great Circle of the Golden Core Realm. Their strength was on par with Ming Rui. How could Jiang Tian fight against so many Golden Core cultivators alone? Moreover, anyone with eyes could see that Jiang Tian's cultivation was only at the Foundation Establishment realm. Although cultivation wasn't equal to combat strength, cultivation was always the foundation of combat strength. And it was the most crucial foundation. Jiang Tian might be able to burst out with super strong combat strength temporarily and gain the upper hand. However, once he fell into a long and fierce battle, Jiang Tian's combat strength would definitely decline and he would be closer to his original cultivation base. Kang Taechu, I know that you are strong. However, the Arhat also took every possibility into account. He already knew that you might resist stubbornly. Therefore, we have prepared more than 30 Golden Core cultivators and an army of 1,000,000 cultivators for you. Wang Xianchao laughed arrogantly and clapped his hands. Rumble. Several huge clouds in the sky exploded, revealing their true appearance. They were 4 cloud tower flying ship squadrons that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. Each of them had more than 100 cloud towers and battleships. They spread out for 10 miles and there was no end in sight. The battleships were extremely huge and covered the sky. The cloud towers were as tall as mountains and intimidating. They had already arrived around Maolin City and were using Dharma artifacts to create clouds as cover. Looking at the formation, the army of 1,000,000 cultivators wasn't just a bluff. Palace Master Wang, don't be in such a hurry to make a move. Our Hehuan sect's fox seduction technique is powerful. We can totally make him submit to us. On the most conspicuous cloud tower, a charming and enchanting woman looked at Jiang Tian with great interest. She licked her lips and said coquettishly. This woman was tall and slender with a slender waist. Her breasts were high and her waist was slender. Her red lips were like fire, and her eyes were like water. She was extremely charming and seductive. This is a supreme demon. He must be killed. Next to her was an eminent monk who was as tall as a mountain. He was 3 meters tall and his body seemed to be made of gold. He was dressed in a large monk robe and had prayer beads hanging from his neck. However, his expression was cold and murderous like a Vajra. It was a very strange combination. Hehuan sect, the personal disciple of the sect master. By Hu, Golden Rock Temple, the first seat of the Commandment Hall, Zen Master Chun Gang. Countless people exclaimed. This was a big shot in West Earth who could shake the world with a stomp of his feet. Bai Hu, was a Zongzi and Zen Master Chun Gang was the most respected senior brother of the Buddha. Both of them were at the peak stage of the Golden Core realm and would be giants in the future. In addition, Fire Beacon City, Wang Xianchao, Shaoqinghe, and the abbot of Fiend Rock Temple were all at the peak stage of the Golden Core realm. But this was only the beginning. Immediately after, the white clouds exploded and the figures of powerful people appeared out of nowhere. They stood on the ground like real gods. In the south, Ding Yue, the sect master of the Fiend sect of the Jinyu Nation. In the east, Zhan Xiong, the sect master of the Sky Wolf sect. In the west, Qixia Nation's top advisor, Qixia Supremacy. Under the Thunder Mountain, Fan Zhongshan, the top general of the Suppressing Mountain Nation, every time he spat out a name, everyone's expression would change. Each of them was a big shot who controlled a big sect or a country's ruler or a country's advisor. At the very least, they were peerless generals or lords of huge cities. Each of them was at least at the late stage of the Golden Core realm or a veteran Golden Core realm cultivator. They were big shots who could shake the world. The Golden Rock Temple was the strongest orthodoxy in this world. The Buddha would be the Buddha in the future. He had the power to topple mountains and overturn seas. Who would dare to disobey him? Kang Te-chu, kneel down and admit your guilt, or die. And let these 300,000 people of the Yan Huang tribe die with you. Wang Xianchao soared into the sky and stepped on the void. With the blue sky and white clouds behind him, the sword aura in his energy center exploded. Thousands of sword aura appeared out of nowhere and formed a dragon made of sword aura. The overlapping scales were the blades of the sword aura. The sword aura was extremely sharp and shone with cold light. Any one of them could kill a Qi refinement realm cultivator and severely injure a foundation establishment realm cultivator. Under the suppression of this sword aura that was about 1,000 meters long, the bronze statues of Jiang Tian and the rest, as well as the many tall buildings, all seemed small and powerless. Kill! With a roar, the many golden core true immortals all revealed strange phenomena. In the sky, some people burned the sky, some people's demonic aura surged like waves, some people formed serpents that swallowed the sky and the earth, some people held their spears and swords in the sky, and some people's brilliant Buddha light turned into huge bells, alms bowls, and prayer beads that shone in the sky. In an instant, the entire sky above Maolin City was like the arrival of heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals, suppressing the world and making everyone pale. Mao Hongdai, Mao Bohu, Fan Shouju, Luo Mei, and Grand Elder Whitebeard were all pale. In an instant, Jiang Tian was in a dangerous situation.